Chrissy. We're blaming it on claws anyway.
Okay.
That's okay.
Says you're live on YouTube.
We are live on YouTube now. Okay, good. Thanks very much, Christy. And we apologize, folks, for those who are waiting for us to get live on YouTube. You can imagine this modern technology is always a little glitch going to happen somewhere. So I'd like to open the meeting first off with a moment of silence. But before we do, just want to let everybody know, I'm sure you all know we're in a gray zone again. Montague's done very well, though. We've come through all the different zones right from the start, and we've all done quite well. Our first responders in Montague have helped us amazingly. So during our moment of silence, I want you to all think of those who are helping us out. Our first responders, especially the doctors and nurses, are now under even more stress through this gray zone. And I request everyone to try and make sure to wear masks, social distancing, and so forth. Okay, so we'll take a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you very much. So we have a motion to put motions over here. Put this over here. Okay, I have a motion moved by Bill Dobson, second by Councillor Ian Straight. The council agreed to move items 8H for information to action items for discussion. And I received your request, Councillor Carroll, in regards to 8G. Jeff?
Yep.
Hello, to move that forward for discussion also?
Yep.
Okay, so we have that motion. All those in favor? Good, thank you. Okay, a motion by Councillor Karen Jennings, a second by Councillor Jeff Carroll, that the regular meeting council agenda dated April 6th be approved as circulated. So you've all had a chance to look through the agenda. All those in favor? Thank you. Second, moved by Councillor Ian Straight and second by Bill Dobson, that the minutes of the regular meeting dated March 16th, 2021 be approved as circulated. This is just to approve the minutes. Yes, Reeve Dobson.
Yeah, sorry, Klaus. Before we do that, we have to do the disclosure of interest.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, yes. Okay, sorry. We'll hold that up. Where is?
I only say that because if there's any disclosure,
anyone has a disclosure of interest in any items that is on the agenda? None. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, if you do have some later on, then please mention it. Thanks, Reeve. Again, moved by Councillor Ian Straight, seconded by Councillor Reeve Bill Dobson. The minutes of the regular meeting of March 16th be approved as circulated. All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, so our next item then is we have any business arising from the minutes of the previous meeting? None right now. Okay. Delegation. So we have a donation request from the Fetal Alcoholic Syndrome Diagnosis by Robert Moore, Elizabeth Holmes, and Trevor Mosier. And I believe, Robert, you're going to speak mainly on behalf of the group.
Yes, I am.
Okay. The floor is all yours, sir.
So I think, first of all, it looks like to me that you have given me share screen capabilities. So I do have a presentation that I can bring up, I believe.
Okay.
Just give me a second here. Okay, so once again, thank you very much for the opportunity for us to be able to come here this evening and share with you who the Rural FASD Support Network is and some of the things that we've been up to. The first thing that I want to make very clear, though, is even though this is a community grant applications that we have done, we weren't sure how to start this conversation. We actually see this as more of a business proposition for the township. We have some services that we think you folks might be interested in and might be willing to look at doing some investments associated with it. And that's really what we're going to be focusing on here tonight. First of all, though, just very quickly, a little bit of background about who we are. We are actually the only incorporated organization in Canada right now who consists solely of individuals with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder and their caregivers. And we were formed in November 2019 is when we got our nonprofit corporation. And we were formed around a kitchen table in Montague Township at that time. And in the 2.5 years following, we now have a membership of 127 families. We have 183 children, including 3 families from Montague Township. The one thing that I would stress in terms of our organization, though, is right now, 80% of our children have experienced foster care at some point in their lifetime. And through that foster care, they have also have evidence from court documents demonstrating trauma that they've suffered at some point in their lifetime. And then now they are currently with their permanent adoptive families. And that really makes up about 100 of the 127 children that we're talking about here. In terms of FASD, it's actually the most common neurodisability in existence. It is set at 4% of our population. And to give you perspective, that's actually almost 3 times more than children with autism. And then finally, as I said before, we actually currently have the largest FASD support group in all of Ontario and the only nonprofit organization. I should also note that we were actually sitting at 81 families at the start of COVID, and we've grown to 127 families over the past 12 months now. In terms of some of the community contributions that we've done, we've actually been able to provide part-time employment for 9 different families out of Montague Township in the past 9 months during COVID. We were able to provide a Christmas present to 83 of those children as that I was mentioning before. And through the magic of technology, we're actually able to get a family photo with Santa Claus, them receiving that photo, which is a really positive keepsake that they're going to be able to hold on to for their lifetime. We've done a lot of advocacy work at both the provincial and the federal levels. And so it was through our work that we were able to bring attention to our mobile crisis response team that's associated with our OPP and Smith Falls Police. We've brought attention to both Children's Mental Health of Leeds Grenville, as well as Open Doors Children's Mental Health of Lanark County. We've been able to bring national attention to the Lanark Children and Youth Advocacy Center. We were actually the organization that had that start that was able to convince the Ottawa Senators to have their first and only sensory-friendly game on January 3rd, 2019, when they were playing the New Jersey Devils. And there was a really large CBC article that you can find where it talked about that. And then finally, we also provided the mandate for the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services as to what the purpose of support groups are. The 2 applications that we're looking at, the first one that I want to focus on, though, is Beckwith Tech Camp. Beckwith Tech Camp is actually one of our fundraising branches as part of the network. And what it focuses on is it really is providing technological solutions to local businesses, as well as tech instruction for youth in terms of an after-school programming aspect. Through COVID, our demand for our services was actually really high. We don't charge for any of this. So we were able to enable the Leeds Grenville 4-H Beef Club to run the club last year because of our tech capabilities. We were the ones who provided the training for St. Francis de Sales to be able to do their mass through COVID. We're doing the same. We did the same for Calvary Bible Church. But I want to turn it over at this point to Talia, and I believe her dad, Trevor, is with us here as well. So I'm going to get you guys to unmute yourself. And I just want to ask Talia a couple questions here, if I could. Are you there, Talia?
Yes.
Beautiful. So Talia, first of all, could you tell these folks what grade are you in?
I am in grade 5.
And do you live in Montague Township?
Yes.
And what have you learned so far through Beckwith Tech Camp?
I learned about doing
Did you learn how to do some coding?
yes, I learned how to do some coding,
Did you learn how to do some graphic design?
yes, I learned how to do some graphic design and
And was Gail from Shopify really impressed with what you were able to accomplish?
Remember when, what was one of the things you made? Remember when the Shopify girl was on there and you made was it a card, wasn't it?
yeah.
What was on the card? What was it? What was it? Oh, she's a bit shy, so.
I know, it's all good. And finally, Talia, have you met a lot of new friends because of the camp?
If the girls even were, you've been on there since the
Yeah.
start.
So
Sorry.
thank you very much, Talia. I want to share with the rest of the group, though, that I don't know if Dad and Talia necessarily are aware of how talented Talia is, but the graphic design that she created is at the same level as any image or graphic design that the township currently has on their website now. Talia is capable of creating the same level of quality as what the website for the township is already at. And it's because she's really, really skilled. And I can tell you, I am extremely excited to see where she's going to be at in about 10 years. I'm going to be the first to predict right now, Talia is going to own $1 million tech company in about 15 years, and she's going to be running it out of Montague Township. And I'm going to tell you that right now. She's got that kind of skill. Okay. So thank you very much, Talia. I'm going to move along. So the second one that I want to focus on as well is in terms of some of the programming and services that the Rural FASD Support Network is also providing. And this is actually why I asked Elizabeth to join us at this point as well. Elizabeth, could you just take a couple minutes and share with the group what programming and services you're providing on our behalf?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was kind of in contact with Rob through my aunt who's worked with him in like an education capacity. And I have been working to form the girls group. And essentially the group serves as a way to help support young women living with FASD in the area. So in my role, I act as a mentor and work with the women and provide them with, or young women, and provide them with guidance, resources, and support to help them be successful in their everyday lives. So this includes things like social skills, professional skills, managing relationships, as well as self-care and mental health and well-being. And I think the large purpose of doing this, especially right now, during the pandemic, now more than ever, we rely on social media or different platforms that aren't in person as a tool for communication, as well as the sharing of information and resources. And most importantly, as a way to connect with one another, especially given the physical distancing measures that are in place. So I think the intention for the girls group starting off, and for now at least, is a way to really get together and connect with one another. And yeah, just provide support that they might not be able to access right now, given the COVID-19 restrictions.
And then could you also share very briefly in terms of your social media marketing experience and some of the things you're doing there as well?
Right, yeah. So in terms of social media, Rob and I discussed a little while ago the need for posts related to FASD to reach a wider audience. For example, the recent news out of Ontario regarding the increase in diagnostic capacity in clinics in the region, which is a huge advancement, and definitely going to have a huge impact on providing resources and support and services for those diagnosed in the region or who are currently undiagnosed. And I think I've taken on this role to be kind of an outlet for the sharing of resources and information related to FASD. But also just on a more personal note, I'm someone who really likes to share resources and information about like self-care and mental health. So kind of incorporating that as well, which is something I've been keeping in mind as well in programming for the girls group, just having access to services and resources and information is really important.
Thank you very much. So at this point, I'm going to kind of jump down to the applications that we were looking at. The first one, as you know, we're asking for $1,000 because every summer for the last 3 years, we have been bringing these children who, as I said before, they've came from foster care originally. They've experienced trauma within their life. They're with their permanent adoptive families now. We're bringing people in from the counties of Leeds, Grenville, from Cornwall, from Stormont, Dundas, Glengarry, from Renfrew. Our marketing, we actually generally reach between 10 to 15,000 people. And the reason we wanted to bring this to your attention was because right now we actually have the funding to be able to do this event. What we're more interested in seeing, though, is we would love to have a representative from Montague Township come to the event and meet with the people that are gathering here, because we've certainly fielded a lot of questions about what makes Montague Township special. Why are we here? A lot of these families are looking at some of the services and the way things are set up here. And we really feel like it would be better for a representative to be able to answer that. At the same time, bringing some really positive attention and marketing as to the fact that it's being hosted here. There's a lot that we can do around that. We do know an individual who is runs a cooking show, and that's really what the $1,000 is about. Is he would do a live show from here. The second application that we're looking at is around the Beckwith Tech Camp. And with it, we don't actually charge anyone to be able to participate. We wanted to make sure that economic status did not enter into whether youth from Lanark County and Montague Township were able to participate. And so we do have funding from Lanark County already. What we're looking at is we don't have a website that is able to market this. And so we also have funders, both Beckwith Township as well as the municipality of North Grenville have already committed money toward that website. And they're going to have their logos listed on there. We just really felt like, since we're headquartered here and we started here, that we needed to give you guys the same opportunity to be able to advertise the township on our website as well. And so that's really what the 4,000 is related to the township request. The last one that we recognize that the money was beyond, and again, this is where I'm saying we didn't know how to start this conversation, but we would be more than happy to share Elizabeth and her social media marketing aspect in terms of whether that was something the township was interested in subcontracting with us and having a social media marketer work on your behalf as well. The last thing that I want to share with you is our financials. As I said before, we were established in November of 2019. That year, we raised $2,000. In 2020, we just finished off our annual report, and I have it down here at the bottom. I won't bring it up very quickly. If it will come, I don't think it will. Anyways, I'll let you look at the link afterwards if you want. But our annual budget last year was $12,775. It is audited as well, and the audit report is included within that Google Drive if you want to check those financials. The reason we've been able to accomplish as much as we have is because we have 58 volunteers who helped us out last year. And it's through those 58 volunteers that we've been able to provide the 36 different programs that we're running right now. And we also, however, have already been told we are anticipating around a budget of about 100,000 already for this year. That 100,000 is coming from multiple sources. Lanark County, from Bell Let's Talk. I don't know if you can see the poster, but there's the big check. No, let me see if I can get it. There we go. There's the big check that we got from Bell Let's Talk for the 20,000. We also had an extremely generous donation done from an anonymous donor that is getting us there. And then we've also received some funding from Calvary Bible Church, from St. Francis de Sales Parish, from Lanark County Children and Youth Advocacy Center. And there's an Open Doors Children Mental Health of Lanark County serves as our charity umbrella. And there's, we're actually putting in a Trillium grant for this year that the portal just opened up yesterday, and we're expecting to submit that within the next couple of weeks. So that's where we're kind of at with all of this. And I know I've used up my time, and so I'm going to ask if there's any questions.
Okay, thanks very much, Robert. And can you flip us back to a regular screen somehow, somebody?
Yeah, I believe I can do that.
All right, thank you. All right, now we can see everybody. So, okay, Council, you've heard the presentation. Very interesting, very enlightening. I enjoyed it. Questions to Robert in regards to their organization? No questions? You did a good job, Robert. You answered everything for them. Okay, if no questions, then we will move on. Sorry. Oh, Councillor Straight?
Yeah, I think that, part of the reason why there hasn't been a lot of questions is I think Robert's done a great job of promoting what he's done. I know I've talked to Robert a couple times, and I'm sure he's talked to all the other councilors and even Deputy Reed before. So we're pretty well aware of what it is. Robert, you're doing a great job for the community. It's great to see that there's a lot of, you're helping out a lot of kids, and that's a great thing in this day and age. And it takes a lot of work and everything else of that nature. I guess one of the things is at the very bottom here, Robert, you says you're expected to get $350,000. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what's happened with, well, that's what we're shooting for. We actually have 3 Trillium grant applications. It's actually 2 Trillium grant applications and a Laidlaw grant application. So that's really, we absolutely have the 100,000 at this point. What we're waiting to see is how much success we have with those grant applications as well. Obviously, right now, we don't have any employees at all. All the people we've been able to pay up until this point have been subcontracted part-time workers. What we really need is that full-time employee that kind of serves as that point of contact. We certainly have some big dreams that folks are helping us toward. The other one that I can confirm, though, is we just signed a contract with Carleton University. We're going to actually have a 4th-year Bachelor of Social Work student from Carleton University is going to be interning with us from September to May. And what she's going to be doing is she's actually going to be doing a gap analysis an environmental scan of all the support services and needs in both the counties of Lanark and Leeds Grenville as it pertains to FASD. And once we get that report done, that will enable us to go after some really substantial federal money and look at establishing a pilot project on a really large scale within this area. I have to note, this fourth year student, can't share the name, but she's a Montague Township resident as well. So we're really excited to have her hop in as well.
That's great. So that $350,000, then, can you explain what that's going to be used for, just so everybody understands?
Yeah, so the $350,000, it's actually coming out of three areas. The $75,000 would be the Trillium grant related to what they call seed money, and the seed money is it's essentially going to be that full-time coordinator position, and they would be that one employee that we would have within the organization. The second one, the 100,000 through Trillium, is what they call the family and community service grant. And it's going to really look at all those, being able to pay for all those different services that families need. Right now, most of our individuals are having to pay out of pocket. We're doing a lot of advocacy to change the eligibility rules around passport funding, but right now we haven't accomplished that. So most of our families are having to pay for that trauma counseling out of their own pockets. They're having to pay for respite out of their own pockets. They're having to pay for just recreation and activities and all of that stuff out of their own pockets. So that 100,000 would really be able to cover all of those costs for all of our families related to that. And then the third one with the Laidlaw, we're actually looking at creating what we're calling a wraparound community, where we would actually be looking at kind of a tiny home housing community where there would be a medical clinic on site, there would be transportation provided, there would be mental health and physical health support, and so on. And that's we have a steering committee in place, and we have all of those partners ready to go. We just, right now, the only thing that's holding us back is the money. So I can tell you, if we go 3 for 3 and we hired a professional grant writer to do all of this for us, who has a really, really strong record in terms of success, this presentation that I shared with you today, this could look radically different in another 12 to 24 months if we go 3 for 3 on these grants.
Okay, thanks very much, Robert. Reeve Dobson, did you have a question?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. And I'm not sure why I went off the screen right now. I can't myself.
Yeah, well, we can hear you. That's okay.
Okay. So thanks, Rob. Thank you very much for the presentation. And I can tell just by the smile on your face that you're pretty passionate about this. So we really appreciate that. But a couple of quick questions. You were talking about the after-school programs, and I'm wondering, before COVID-19 hit us, and maybe after it's over, where do you meet with these after-school programs? That's one question. And the other one is, I really like, I know that council, there's a lot of items here to comprehend, and we'll have to spend some good time discussing it. But I really like these ideas about, the possibly of, helping with websites and social marketing and so on. So a lot of good ideas, but I'm sure that that'll have to come out of further conversations after tonight. But
yeah,
I'm just wondering about where you have your school programs.
So this is the beauty of what the Tech Camp is. We actually do all of our sessions virtually. So we were doing them virtually sort of beginning even before COVID. And so when COVID hit, we were able to really seamlessly just go totally virtual. So what you're doing right now, this is how we do it. We actually have, we have a host who is, this young lady is literally on par with, the other thing I should note here as well is all of the folks associated with the tech camp, they're all 24 years or younger. So our instructors right now for our spring session are ages 14, 15, and 16. And they're teaching the rest of the students how to do basically program a website. We do it all through Zoom meetings. And so what's happening is Talia, as a result, has got introduced to folks out of Almont, out of Carleton Place, out of Smith Falls. We're reaching down to Brockville, to Kempville. And right now our attendance is, we have about 40 to 45 participants every week. And they're all coming together and they're basically learning together, working together, developing all of these programs together. And so our time is, we meet every Wednesday night. We meet at 7 o'clock and we run for an hour, and we basically have about a 20-minute lesson. The students get to practice the lesson for about 30 minutes, and then we record it and put the video of what they've created up on our YouTube channel in those last 10 minutes. It's also, the other reason why we do this though is University of Waterloo know about us. The Hacker Gal event that we did this past summer garnered a ton of attention from a lot of big names. So Gail out of Shopify follows us now. She'll pop in and see what the kids are up to. University of Waterloo, Sandy Graham is the professor of computing, the Department of Computing out of there. Carleton University has sent reps in to see what's going on. Hacker Gal out of Toronto is actually a huge supporter of us. They're actually providing the instructor for our summer session free of charge to enable us to be able to continue not charging for our kids. And what they're all saying is they don't know of any other place in the province right now that's doing it like we're doing it. So that's how we meet. And the other part that I should note is the funding that we get from Beckwith Township to help run that camp is actually coming out of the recreation department. It's not coming out of their community grants. And the reason it comes out of the recreation department is, do you know what the largest attended sporting event last year was? They actually had an audience of 120 million people watch this event last year. You know what it was?
No.
It was the World Gaming Championship.
Yeah.
Where the top two teams in the world played a video game against each other. It is a they actually generated $2.47 billion in revenue off of the championship last year. This technology in video game playing is by far the largest recreational activity that our youth are doing today. And so we look at this and we recognize, okay, let's take that skill and let's make career possibilities out of it. Let's give them some instruction where they're not just playing the game, they're learning how to make the games. They're learning how to develop these graphic designs. They're learning storytelling. We actually got seed money from the library in Almont because they understood to create a video game is literacy. It's telling a story in a graphic manner. And so that's why they encourage that literacy development through, and that's what we're doing. And that's why we call ourselves technically a recreation camp.
Okay, Robert. Sorry to cut you off. I know you're very excited about you and passionate about your program. And
I know, sorry.
Extremely educational. And I appreciate everything you told us. It's an amazing thing. And I'm really proud of the fact that your opening statement, the fact that it all started in Montague Township. I think we have got to be very proud of that it started here. And we do wish you all the best. So anyone, no more further comments, then we'll try to move on. Okay, moved by Councillor Jeffrey Carroll and second by Councillor Karen Jennings that the council receive this presentation for information. All those in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you very much. And Robert, thank you very much again. And to Elizabeth also, thank you for your presentation. And again, I wish you all the best of luck. Keep
Thank you
plugging
very
away.
much.
Thank
We'll
you so
hop
much.
off now.
Thanks, Robert.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, so next we have the reports of the municipal officers, and the first one would be our fire chief. Miles?
Yes, good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well. So the report that I'm putting out today is a grant from the Ontario government. You may have received a couple documents on this. One is a fire grant transfer payment agreement, and the other document would have been a letter of intent. So I just wanted to give you a bit of background history on this. On March 11th, I received a letter from John Pegg, the Ontario Fire Marshal. So it said that this is a one-time $5 million grant to municipalities for challenges associated with training and virtual inspections due to the pandemic. So in this grant, they broke down all the Ontario fire departments and have looking at $5,500 would be a grant from the Ontario government. They seem like they've kind of fast-tracked this a little bit. March 11th, I received the letter from John Pegg looking for a response by March 19th with our grant application. So I went ahead and put in our grant application under training, because I believe training is the most valuable in our community for the size of it. So I've allotted the $5,500 towards training, which they have accepted with the letter of intent. It also states that they've agreed, but not in principle. So this isn't 100%, I don't think, a perfect yes yet. But the letter of intent states that, the $5,500 would go towards training. And they are asking our council to look at the payment transfer agreement and make a resolution in accepting this grant if it comes through. And the grant would be used to do training, which I already have a training budget, but this would just be subsidizing more training if needed, which, for our department, we've taken on 6 new members, so it couldn't have come at a better time for us. So in saying that, they're looking for the resolution to be emailed back to them by April 30th of 2021. So in a nutshell, it's a $5,500 grant from the government, looking for a resolution from council, that it's going to be properly used for what we say it's going to be used for. There was a couple items they talked about that it couldn't be used for, but certainly I would be looking at straight training with this grant.
Okay, great. Thanks, Miles. Any questions before we read the motion? Yes, Councillor Jennings.
Miles, is there anything specific though for training that they're looking for us because of COVID or anything so that we can keep on doing training with our firefighters? Was there anything specific that they're looking at?
Nothing specific, but they could be used for any kind of training, whether it would be, upgrading computers, upgrading members on the pandemic situations, So no, nothing specific, just kind of a ballpark out there to work with.
Okay, Councillor Carroll.
It's great that we were able to get this, and I know it's you haven't had a lot of time to kind of go over it all. So do you have sort of a plan right now, or like with it, or is that something you just kind of report back to us in a couple of meetings to kind of let us know as we support this what you did with it, I guess?
Yeah, so my plan right now is I have 6 members that are sent away to Lanark County for their level 1 training for firefighter and level 1 hazmat and awareness for hazmat. So that's a very costly event. So a portion of this, 50% of this, I would put towards that. And then the other 50% would go into a training budget of the fire department to be allotted at a later date, but 50% would go towards getting these members up to speed as quick as possible.
Okay, very good, Miles. Any further questions? Okay, so I do have a resolution here. It's moved by Reeve Bill Dobson, second by Councillor Ian Straight. The council received the following report: fire safety grant, and that the following be approved. The council received the fire safety grant for information. All those, yes, Joanna.
Sorry, I just want to clarify with Miles, because as he said, this was kind of last minute. Should we have that resolution say anything else in particular other than receive for information, Miles?
That's what I was thinking too. Sorry.
Yeah, so as I say, they've kind of looked like they fast tracked this a little bit. They are looking for a grant transfer payment agreement with council resolution no later than April 30th. So I do believe you may have another meeting before that, so it's totally up to council.
Can we put this in place now, Joanna?
Yeah, there's no reason why we can't. It's on council, so maybe we should just say that council authorize the clerk administrator and Deputy
chief.
Reeve to sign the agreement, or the fire chief to sign the agreement
The
as
agreement, yeah. Yes,
Sorry.
Karen?
I don't know if Miles can sign it because I think it has to be those that combine the corporation, which would be Joanna and the Reeve. Sorry,
That's
I'm-
correct.
I'm just guessing, but I know in most government grants, it's those that combine the
Yeah.
corporation.
I do
Okay.
believe Councillor Jennings is correct. So you were saying that earlier, Joanna, we could put together a resolution
Yeah,
with consensus from everybody here later on. We and I can put that together and then sign it and get it off. We've received the information. I don't see any purpose of rediscussing it at a further future meeting.
yeah. I think I just have, we'll have to tweak the wording a little bit, but essentially that council authorized the clerk administrator and we'll have Deputy Reeve, because you're at the meeting today, to
Right.
sign the agreement for the grant.
Okay, can we get a consensus on that we move forward on it? Okay,
Yes.
Councillor Carroll,
Yeah, we need a,
Councillor Straight?
Yep.
Reeve Dobson?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll just put this aside for now.
Yeah, I'll
We've
just-
got a consensus, Joanna, and we'll tag that and do it at a later date.
yeah. Sorry about that, guys. It was like added last minute.
Yeah, that's good. No, okay, thanks for the report, Miles. Sounds great, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. Training is where we gotta move towards. Can never be trained enough.
Thank you.
Everything is,
very much
every day something's changing when it comes to fire prevention.
For sure. Thank you very much for your time, guys. Listen, stay safe out there, hey, guys.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, so we'll move on to our next municipal officer, and that would be Public Works Manager Stephen Rothwell, Microsurfacing Award. Stephen?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Yeah, so the microsurfacing tender results was presented to the committee of the whole at our last meeting. The main recommendation was to award to Miller Paving for the contract that was tendered with Lanark County. Staff brought forward to add Uphill, Union, and Kilmarnock Road, and council then directed staff to add some more roads to fulfill the budgeted price we had. So the third recommendation would be to direct staff to add Dufferin, Minto, and Wellington section, Rainbow Valley Drive, Bayview Crescent Lane to the award and at the same unit price. As stated, brought it forward before. In finding these extra roads to fulfill the budgeted amount, I've kind of went through the roads needs study and tried to get roads that are in close proximity to the rest of the works. And the Dufferin, Minto, Wellington section was very close to a section of roads that we were completing. And then the Bayview Lane, Bayview Crescent, and Rainbow Valley. These are roads that are right along Highway 43 where Miller Paving is going to be completing the micro for the county. So these would be roads that are upcoming in the roads need study schedule, as the Dufferin to Wellington section is 2023. And the other three sections are actually later on, but we'd be getting our best bang for a buck by completing them now instead of having a larger mold cost. Staff has received writing from Miller Paving stating that they are locked in at their unit price received. And I just prepared a little breakdown of kind of our three options that we have. So we can either, with honoring all three options, it would be 95% of the budget. The two options would be 69%, and then 52% would be by just awarding the Lander County portion. And then the last attachment is basically a breakdown of 2020 to 2025 roads need study with the items in green and roads that are proposed to be completed already or have been completed.
Okay, thanks very much, Stephen. Questions from council? Yes, Reeve Dobson.
Yes, Steve. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Mr. Chair there. With Uphill, is the plan to go just to the end of the of what we have it paved there now?
That is correct.
So in other words, it's not going all the way up around.
No.
Okay, and Rainbow Valley Crescent. Some people don't realize this, and it's kind of unclear when you drive in there, but Rainbow Valley Crescent actually, like Montague has access straight to the river there.
Yep.
We can, our public can walk down that road. Now, I'm just wondering, like when we go to pave that, will we be paving it all the way down in front of that little house that's there? Or are you stopping up at the top of the hill or what? Because as I said, a lot of people don't realize it, but we actually have right of way all the way to the water there.
Yes, we won't be paving all the way down, just doing the micro to the turnaround section there.
Okay, and my other question was regarding, like, it seems like it's a great idea. And I'm just wondering, like, I guess at a future meeting, it would be nice then if we could put our heads together and see what changes we might make in the future then, because we're going to be like some of these roads, we're on the roads need study for whatever 2-3 years from now, but by doing them now, then we won't have to do it when it comes due. So and the other thing is, it would be nice then to also have a discussion with the money that we're saving by doing it. If we do this, then the money that we're saving, can we apply it someplace else, say next year or the year after, for maybe the extension of another road that might get surfaced? Because I still keep thinking about all the people who live on non-paved, non-surfaced roads, and we've got lots of them, and we've got some of them where a lot of people live. So it would be nice. I mean, I think this is a fabulous thing that you're doing, but still, it would be nice to turn this saving into something else in the future too.
Okay, thanks, Reeve. Councillor Straight.
I just wondered if I can get a comment there from Steve.
Sorry. Do you want to answer back on that, Steve?
Yeah. So, and where there's the savings, I absolutely am. Every day I'm looking at this roads need study and trying to rejig it to make sure that we're getting our best bang for our buck. And I'm definitely looking at all options for mini roads, paved, unpaved. And if the road's say in 2023 now and it hasn't been completed, that'll be 2022. It's not like I'm throwing this plan to the wayside. I'm utilizing it and I'm just speeding everything up and trying to do what's best for Montague Township.
Okay, Councillor Straight.
Yeah, Steve, thanks a lot. Like I said at previous meetings, I'll say it again. You're always very progressively thinking and making sure that we get the most money we can or the most we get with our money at the end of the day. And I definitely thank you for that. To Reeve Dobson's comments there about, fixing some of the roads. I was kind of touched base with you earlier today, but some of these ones that we continually have problems with, these quagmires that keep on erupting every spring, if we get some money ahead, it'd be nice to be able to go and fix those spots properly so that they don't keep on coming back to bite us in the proverbial rear end every year, which is great. I guess one last thing, and Ashley, thanks to the Reeve for bringing that up. The piece of property that is at the end of Rainbow Valley Drive, is there a way to get some kind of dimensions of what it is, how much we actually own there?
From what I understand, if I may interject quickly here, My understanding was it was designated basically as a fire truck entrance to be able to get water. So I think it's one of those, correct me if I'm wrong, we can maybe have some of the office look into it. It's one of these narrow strips, just wide enough for a fire truck to back down there and pick up water in, is what I was understood it to be. Reeve Dobson?
It might be that, but I know for a fact it was also, we have legal access.
That's correct.
We don't have signs. So in other words, we're not encouraging, say, hikers to come off the highway and walk down there. But legally, we do have the right of way. And I think the right of way is on the right side. If you're going towards the river, it's on the right side. But I think it's a good question in that it would be nice to see exactly where are those lines and those setbacks and so on, because some days in the future, Montague may want to utilize that area a little bit more to do with, say, hiking and so on, or being allowed to put your canoe in there or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be nice to understand how much is there.
Could we ask staff then, Joanna? Hello, sorry. Sorry, okay. Could we, based on the discussion we just had, Joanna, could we maybe have staff look into exactly a legal description?
Yeah, absolutely. We can get a survey.
And I will add to it, it may be very important to do that now, because the little cottage that Ian's referring to now is a house. It's been all renovated and so forth, and it will be up for sale in the near future. So whoever buys that should be aware that there's a piece of property in front of their property that belongs to the township.
Yeah,
because it could get, years could go by and transfers of property could happen, because it's, I think it's about the fourth owner on that piece of property by now, that they could assume that property in front of theirs to the river is theirs. And you're right, Reeve Dobson, there is no identification to indicate that it's a right of way. So I think it's important to do that. So if you get that, Joanna, please. Okay, thank you. Any further questions to, yes, Councillor Carroll.
Yeah, real quick. I mean, exactly. Kind of to reiterate the points from Straight and Councillor Straight and Reeve Dobson. Like, I mean, kudos to Steve. Like, I mean, you quickly found a way to move us ahead, and I think exactly what that side of it is. My comment was going to be about the savings of money. We're going to see that those opportunities, like in the next couple of years, that we can attack some of those other. Maybe that's where we can get the extra paving of roads and everything else. So I mean, like, long as Steve continues to kind of push the envelope on these years, I think that's exactly the right approach. So yeah, I mean, it was a great conversation earlier to really clear up some of my questions too as well. And I mean, I think we're on the right track. So thank you.
Okay. Again, Steve, good job. Thank you very much. No further questions. I do have a motion here, moved by Councillor Carroll, second by Councillor Jennings, that the council receive the following report from Public Works Manager Steve Rathwell, Microsurfacing Award, and the following be awarded. I think Steve has read them all off. I'm probably familiar with what they are. There's no need for me to read them. Yes, Councillor Reeve Dobson.
Sorry, Claus. Before we vote on it, I just have one quick question. I meant to bring it up. This is for Steve. So we're doing uphill, but and we did Dean Street a few years ago there. So, but that little street, forget the name of it now, that's just east of uphill. Like, it's not a very big street. So there's the one it's basically the continuation east of Dean. Is it Dean all the way through, and then the one that goes perpendicular to Roger Stevens. Karen, you live near there. I guess pardon me?
O'Malley.
Yes, exactly. So my question is, because those two little streets are so close to uphill and they're very short, I guess my question, first of all, where do they show up? I should have checked this, but where do they show up in the roads need study? And should it be a possibility of adding those two? I don't know. I haven't driven on them in the last this year, so I don't know how if they're in the same condition as uphill. Or when do they show up on the roads need study?
So they're not in the actual road need study on the, I think the, say 2019 to 2020 or 30 section. They're on another section in priority roads. So these are roads that are less than 5 in the condition rating. And both these roads are getting surface treatment this year.
Okay, thank you. Sorry,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
That's okay. So I've read the motion and so forth. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, Steve, you're still on for the road classification.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so the road classification bylaw has been brought forward to committee of the whole and council on February 2nd, and it just kind of wasn't placed on a future agenda to be passed again. The last time it was there, it was deferred just for further information. We received information from the lawyer, brought that forward, and it was determined that Ella Maloney Road would be upgraded from the 6C in the previous listing into a 6B, and everything set forward in the report here on what everything means. And I think I've done a couple reports on what the classifications are. If anybody would like me to go in depth, I can, but I think everybody kind of has had it, and Ella Maloney will be receiving year-round treatment under the 6B.
Okay. Any questions? Yes, Councillor Carroll.
I'm gonna bring it up again because, I mean, we're going down this road and it's gonna, and no pun intended, and it's gonna be costly. So I mean, like, we're basically committing $155,000 in the future of this road, and we're committing 25 to 30 in the next 5. So I mean, as long as we're all comfortable, I mean, I know we talk about saving every dollar and everything else. I mean, we could have done a little bit more opportunity of research to make sure that all of our options are given to us before we spent this kind of money. I know we've discussed in greater detail a lot less money than this. So I mean, I'm putting that last purge in there of the discussion of how much detail we talk about where we spend other parts of money and how much this is going to cost. This is bigger than what we've quashed in the past. So thanks, folks.
Okay. Yes, Reeve Dobson.
Yeah, and I certainly 100% agree with Councillor Carroll's concern. I'm sure we all do. The problem is Montague Township gave out severances on that road many years ago. You can't be giving out severances and not maintaining the road. So like, it's kind of like one of these things, we're damned if we do and damned if we don't, but we legally have to, because there's severances there, and there will be people who will be wanting to build houses in the future. So it's like, we may not want to, but it's a case that we have to.
Not entirely, but okay.
Well, I mean, if there's a different way, it should be presented then.
Well, we never, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Carroll.
I don't think we gave a clear direction. We got a quick lawyer opinion, but we didn't explore all the options. So I mean, so I'm not going to sit here and say I got an option in my hand, because I mean, I don't. But I mean, we didn't explore all the options to spend this kind of money, and I'm just kind of stating that fact that we've explored for smaller amounts of money. So that's the big side of it. So I mean, it's just a very costly endeavor that's but we didn't want to explore, so that's fine.
Okay, we can only hope that, as Reeve Dobson said, that people will build on that road. And I think when they see that we're being progressive to maintain the road, they may want to certainly start putting some houses up there. The lots are there. So anything further than Steve on this? None?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Ian Straight, second by Reeve Bill Dobson. The council received the following report: Public Works Manager Stephen Rathwell, road classification, and the following be approved. And the council adopt the attached road classification bylaw. All those in favor? And Councillor Carroll opposed, correct? Thank you. That's carried. Okay, next we have our clerk administrator, Joanna Bowes, on communication towers.
Yeah, so I guess this is another case where maybe just like Steve, we had brought this previously on, I believe, March 2nd, the communications tower at 321 Kelly Jordan Road, and it just didn't make it onto the council agenda. So I'm just looking for the support. We can't approve this. It's a federal approval, but they are looking for support for the communications tower at 321 Kelly Jordan Road, as we had discussed at the March 2nd meeting.
That's correct. Okay, any questions in regards to this communication tower report that Joanna has presented to us? This was brought up before, and here we are making the final move forward. Seeing no questions, then moved by Councillor Jeffrey Carroll, seconded by Councillor Jennings. The council received the following report: Clerk Administrator Joanna Bowes, Communication Tower, and the following will be approved. The council support the application of communication tower proposed by Xplornet at 321 Kelly Jordan Road in order to increase access to high-speed internet service. That'd be great. All those in favor? Okay, and that's carried. Thank you. And again, Joanna.
Okay, the next one is for the request for proposal for the development charges study. So essentially, we talked about this at the last meeting on the 16th of March, that we're required every 5 years to review our development charges study. We have reached that time limit, so we need to start the process again. So I'm just looking for council direction to release the request for proposal for a development charges study and then necessary background study requirements. So I'd like to get this out hopefully this week if I get your approval for that.
Okay, any questions in regards to this? Councillor Jennings.
So in the report, it says background report was brought forward to the committee of a whole on April 6, 2021.
Right.
March 16th.
Thank you. Do we get to choose what we charge development or where the development charges get to be applied to? Like, for example, and I'm thinking of recreation, etc. Because there's administration, there's fire, there's roads, etc. in all those categories and how we get to charge. Does council determine what categories development charges are applied under and percentages, or how does that work?
I will be honest, that's something I'll have to look into. I know that they get split over a variety of areas, like you said, roads, recreation, libraries, things like that. Whether that's a provincial formula or whether that's, on the direction of council and staff, I'm unclear, but I can certainly find that out for you and bring it back.
From what I understand, Councillor Jennings, I understand the development charges specifically go to improvements within the township. But there is a list of specific items.
I think Karen's wondering about the percentages of how they get broken up, though.
That's true. Yeah, there is a percentage formula and so forth. I thought we had brought that forward to a council meeting, maybe the last term, I forget now. But there was discussion about that. Reeve Dobson?
Yes, I think you're right that it is something that council has say in, and I think we have say in the percentages, but it has to be towards items that where growth has caused more cost.
Right.
Yeah,
that's the key thing. It's where growth is causing more cost, and that's where we have to spend it. But I also think that we also have some say in the percentages that we want to charge, because to me that's really important, because I know that that in the past we chose maybe a smaller amount than where we could have gone, and maybe other times we've chosen more than maybe some wanted to. So that's something that will have to be discussed with council.
Yeah, Reeve Dobson's correct. So I think if you look back, Joanna, you'll probably find some documentation on that somewhere, because this has been discussed, maybe not this council, but the previous councils, we've had discussions on it.
Yeah,
okay.
I know that council can sort of go, pick certain limits. I just didn't know how you would divide it percentage wise amongst the different areas. But yeah, certainly I can look back and take a look and, or, ask whoever's the successful proponent of this and have those discussions.
Okay. Joanna, do you know who did it the last time?
I
That's okay. I was just
I could
curious.
find out for you, but
Macintosh Perry?
I
I don't
think so.
think it was. It was someone I don't recall having heard of before, I think, but
Well, it was a company that does an awful lot of these development charge studies in the area. So they've definitely done it before for sure. I'm not sure who it was we got the last time.
Okay, so if there's no further questions, comments, then sorry, that's it? Okay. Moved by Councillor Carroll, second by Councillor Jennings, that the council receive the following report. Clerk Administrator Joanna Bowes, request proposal, development charges study, and the following be approved. Council direct staff to release the request for proposal of development charges study, and the staff be directed to undertake the necessary background study requirements under the Development Charges Act. All those in favor? Thank you. Council assignment task, Joanna, yours again.
right. This was a motion brought forward by Councillor Jennings, just to be attached to, from here on, it'll just be attached at the rear of the agenda, just showing updates as to where staff are with respect to council motions and staff direction. So this is essentially a list of items completed or still like in progress or not started yet. Just so we're all kind of on the same page and we all know what tasks have to still be looked at and reviewed and dealt with.
Okay, any questions on that? This was a request. Yes, Councillor Jennings.
So I reviewed through it. One of the things that I know I talked about during several budget meetings, and it came from a treasurer before, was the review of our volunteer firefighter honorarium, because Augusta Township was doing it back when Allison was still our treasurer, and I had asked if at that point in time we could do a review. But again, one of these things where I didn't have council's consensus. And I know we discussed it again at this budget, saying it's something I didn't want forgotten because we at least did give them the cost of living that hadn't been put on before. So I'm just looking to see if council could give consensus and add it to this list as well. That I see Ian's put his hand up, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Ian.
Yeah, before this goes any further, I'm going to declare conflict of interest.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, Ian.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So if we could get consensus of council, so it's not missed again on the tasks, that we do a survey of the rural municipalities to find out about our honorariums for our firefighters. That was one thing I noticed. The other one that I see that we had a discussion on, and I thought we had resolved it, but maybe I'm wrong because there's nothing noted, was in reference to extending the appointment of our acting clerk administrator. Because I remember Jeff brought it up about an overlap of time when Jasmine goes to come back for Joanna to still work. But I thought we had approved 2+ weeks, depending on what was needed, but I don't see where it was actually formalized in this report. So I'm just wondering about that as well. Jeff, do you remember?
Yeah, I totally do. I remember the discussion of the overlap and saying that we could do like the 2 to 4, like it could be 2 to 4 weeks if that was the, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. What time frame are we looking at here, Joanna? When?
Well, that would be up to yourselves. It has not been looked at. So I have to check it when the contract expires, but I think it's probably an in-camera discussion. But
yeah, okay.
Maybe that's not. Maybe that's why it's not on the list, though. Because sorry, I spoke out of turn. Because it's like an in-camera discussion.
Yeah, I think we need to put this on an in-camera discussion because really we're dealing with council assignment tasks. We're not necessarily dealing with overlap of staff here right now.
Just it was on our list, that was all.
Yeah, no, I realize that, Karen. I do thank you for bringing it up, but I think due to the nature of the
It's okay.
situation, it should be something to bring into camera. So we'll have that for a future in-camera meeting, Joanna.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, if nothing further, then I'll read the motion moved by Bill Dobson, seconded by Councillor Ian Straight. We can't name on that.
Good, yeah.
You would change that to Councillor Carroll, Joanna?
Sure.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, I've been sitting here staring at it and I should have picked it up myself. Sorry. Okay, I'll try that again. Moved by Reeve Dobson, second by Councillor Carroll, that the council received the following report. Clerk Administrator Joanna Bowes, council assignment tasks and the following be approved. That council receive this report for information. All those in favor? Thank you. And Joanna, can you notify Ian that he may return?
Yep.
So just wait a minute, folks. For Ian to fly back in. Okay, are you back with us, Ian?
I am, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next we have the minutes of the committee of the whole. So I'll just read the motion here. Moved by Councillor Jennings, second by Councillor Carroll, at the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting dated March 16th, 2021 be approved as circulated. All those in favor? Any questions from those minutes?
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Whoever, Ian, you were first, I believe.
I guess my question is regarding the donation portion of it in regards to the hospital. Since the previous meeting, I've done a little bit of research and there's been quite a bit of money that's been sent their way regarding from the provincial government. And it'd be interesting to see what that money is being used for. According to some of the information I've found anyway, there was almost $2.1 million sent there in June 2020, above and beyond what was originally budgeted for. And the province just announced a $1.2 billion on March 22nd that's going to the hospitals. So I think that, you know, from my opinion, I'd like to see what, how much that's coming to, or how much of that money is coming to our local hospital and what it's going to be used for before we start adding any extra to it.
Okay, Joanna, is there a way for you to communicate with the hospital in regards to this? I mean, personally myself, I mean, the province is all of a sudden throwing all kinds of money out there that we have no control over. We have to kind of deal with what's being asked of us. I still feel what we're doing for the hospital is totally necessary, but if we need to find out just what that's for, then we can do that just for information. So we'll leave that with staff. Yes, Councillor Jennings.
So I had also at when we had our discussion regarding the donation said that I would like to see the financials with the presentations like the rural FASD just did for us. And that's what was one of these things too, to show us what is it that the hospital foundation has made in donations, because that was something that we didn't see, but it was on the others as well. So that's where my question comes about, passing the minutes with reference to when our delegations come forward, that they're bringing through their financials as well, so that we see what fundraising activities they're actually doing as well.
Okay, Joanna.
So anyone who's going to be making a presentation in the coming weeks has been asked to talk about fundraising and about their yearly financials. So anyone we've contacted is going to have it bring that information forward. That's been relayed to them. I don't remember. I believe we talked to the hospital and they gave us some information, but it may not have been everything that you guys were looking for.
Well, during their presentation, they did indicate X number of dollars for various pieces of equipment. And so I can't tell you off the top of my head exactly what they were, but there was indication of, you know, technical things they were purchasing and needing and so forth. They're trying to become the state of the art, which I feel is important to us, so we don't have to travel to Ottawa. But anyway, having said that, we can certainly ask for the information that they've been given as a gift all of a sudden. And I'm presuming they have been. I mean, the province is announcing this kind of money, but has any of it flowed through yet? Yes, Joanna.
So I just want to clarify, basically you're looking for what the amount of the provincial grant was to the hospital and then what it is going to be used for.
Correct.
Okay. And then just bring that back to council for information.
Yes, please. That's okay with everybody? So, yes, Councillor Straight.
So the motion will have to be changed then so that it reads that we defer the funding for the hospital until we have further information.
I thought we had passed the motion.
We have passed it. We've already passed it.
We've already passed the motion at a council meeting to forward X number of dollars this year.
No, we're passing it right now.
Yeah,
We passed it at committee of whole. We didn't pass it at council yet.
exactly.
So we haven't passed it yet, council. We're
Yeah,
discussing.
no, I meant we passed it at the committee of the whole.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the feeling of the group then? We putting this on hold, or are we passing the minutes of the committee of the whole as it is intact? Yes, Councillor Straight.
I'd like to put it on hold for right now.
Okay, Councillor Jennings.
I agree till the new information comes forward.
Councillor Carroll.
My feeling hasn't changed that we're basically adding an extra tax. So I mean, that's there's a different issue altogether with that. So
Are we putting this on hold, or are we moving forward as we passed at the committee of the whole?
you're asking me, like I always say put it on hold because I was never for that. So
Okay, Reeve Dobson.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm like, I realize that that there's more money coming from the province, but I also look at their books and see what their budget is, and no amount of money that the province is going to give the Smith Falls Perth Hospital is still going to be enough for what they need and want to do. So I'm still in favor of the donation that we talked about. And so I haven't changed my mind, but you've already got consensus to defer it.
Yeah.
So
Joanna, when you go to the hospital to ask them about this situation, could they clarify what this donation, this some windfall of some from the province, which I said before, the province is throwing all kinds of money out there, what that is specifically for? Because I go back to what we learned before, that the province doesn't donate to the hospital any money whatsoever for equipment. All of it's strictly for wages, salary, administration, building, whatever have you. Could we get a real clarification on? They may have got this kind of money, but what are the stipulations on that money for the hospital? Okay, so I guess Joanna, you can make that notation then that particular item is going to be put on hold until we get some clarification. Other than that, we can approve the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting with that exception. Councillor Carroll.
oh yeah, real quick. I mean, once again, I mean the hospital. I agree. Like the money. I mean, I'd love to give more money to the hospital, but it's like I always want to clarify my point is like what was being asked right now is basically we're taxing the provincial government through the hospital is taxing the municipalities. So we're talking about a tax thing. So that's, to me, is a bigger conversation. That's why I've always had a problem with this. But my other point was that I'm curious if there's any, as we talk about this, but I mean, if there's any flavor, like I know Big Brothers Big Sisters, it was kind of a pushback to have them come and, but I mean, as an advocate for them, just like of knowing how much good they do in our community and how they run on the shoestring budget. And yes, a lot of their money goes to the salaries, which is basically the people running the programs. I mean, I don't know if there's a value, and if are we really going to say no to them when they come in? Is it worth the value of them to come in? Is it something that we're like? I'm saying we should be giving them the money no matter what. I shouldn't say no matter what, but they well deserve it. Do we really need them to come in? And is there enough? Do I have, I guess, consensus that we can just give that donation of that $1,000 to the Big Brothers Big Sisters, and knowing that. So I'm just looking for that, so we're not basically wasting their time. So if we can, if not, then let me know.
Okay, Councillor Jennings.
But that's the same thing, Jeff. I mean, the county also gives to Big Brothers Big Sisters. So the county's giving, the municipality's giving. So there's that tax circle again that you just mentioned with reference to the hospital.
Not
Yes.
entirely. Not entirely. Big Brothers Big Sisters is a non-for-profit. It's not a.
They receive money though from the county, which is our taxes as well.
No, I agree. But what I'm getting at is we're talking about our two tiers, our municipal side of the government. We're not talking about a provincial side. That's the other side of it. It's a very different conversation. It's very, 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 very different. So, but I mean, I'm just looking for that consensus because I would hate for us not to want to support Big Brothers and Big Sisters in our community. So,
Joanna,
Yes.
All right. When we set the parameters for requested donation, did we not say that anything over a certain dollar had to make a presentation?
I don't think it was a dollar amount. I think it was everybody had to make a presentation, except for I want to say it was like
Cemeteries.
The cemeteries.
the cemeteries didn't, but there was
And-
one other one.
gave up Real Deal too as well. So.
The real deal, yeah.
Real deal, yeah. So now we're asking to bypass the presentation for Big Brothers Big Sisters. Correct?
I'm asking that just as a, I truly believe that as a council, we're going to give that donation. So let's let them continue to work on their work and not maybe have to pay a staff overtime to come and talk to us.
Okay. What's the feeling of the group? Karen?
No, I want a presentation. I want to see what fundraising they're doing.
Okay, Councillor Straight?
I think we kind of got to stay on the same page just to make it fair for everybody. The one person has to come and do it, I'm pretty sure.
Reeve Thompson?
Yeah, I'm in agreement what the previous two have said, because I mean that's how we handle it at the county. With the youth clubs, they come and they're supposed to give us their yearly presentation.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's not about
Councillor
whether
Carroll.
we're going to give it or not. It's just hearing what they're doing. It's good
I-
communication.
I appreciate your concern, but the group, we will ask them for a presentation. Okay, Joanna? Okay, so the minutes of the meeting, then we're making that slight adjustment. I believe did I ask for a vote on that? I forgot now.
No, you haven't asked for a vote yet.
No, I haven't asked for a vote. Okay, I'll start over again. Thanks, Karen. Moved by Ian Straight, second by Reeve Dobson, the minutes of the Recreation Committee, minutes March the 9th and 23rd, 2021 be approved as circulated. Any questions on those?
We didn't approve
Yes.
the community of the whole there.
Were we not on the committee of whole first?
Oh, right, I
Yeah.
flipped over too quickly. All right, yeah, we were. Okay, moved by Councillor Jennings, second by Councillor Carroll, that the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting March 16th, 2021 be approved as circulated with the amendment that Joanna will put in as in regards to the hospital donations for further clarification. All those in favor? Okay, approved. Okay. So now the Recreation Committee, the minutes of the Recreation Committee meeting March 9th and 23rd, 2021 be approved circulated as moved by Councillor Straight and second by Reeve Dobson. Any questions on those minutes? Yes, Councillor Jennings.
So on the minutes, it says for items of discussion, the committee reviewed the feedback of the survey and mentioned the extension till the end of March to do the survey. It will also be asked if there is a way to allow more than one person per household in taking the survey. So I had a conversation with Jeff because the survey has now been extended from the original date to the end of March and now again till the middle of April. And then there's a glitch in the system because there is more, the ability is there that more than one household does get to take the survey. So I was asking, when did we actually approve the extensions? And did we amend a change for allowing more than one household to answer the survey?
Okay, Councillor Carroll, maybe you can answer that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's happened. I think we had asked Mary Catherine about the extra ones in there. And she kind of came back and said, not really, because people can kind of answer that as a family, and then it would not do that. So I was surprised when Councillor Jennings said that she could do it, because Mary Catherine's response back was that they wouldn't necessarily open it up. I had asked and made a suggestion, is there a way that we could do for two? And that was kind of, the conversation was left at that, because I thought we were just going to leave it the one. So I'd be curious if that was a change for Mary Catherine or not. I mean, and as far as extensions go, I guess I can apologize from the group. It's one thing I've been in a lot of contact with Mary Catherine back and forth. She had reached out to a lot of us at the beginning, and I know I'd reached out with her back and forth a lot with her too as well. So I think maybe what was fired back out to myself and Joanna, and then I'm like, yeah, I think it'd be great to extend it if we could, if that's possible. And Mary Catherine came back, said that wouldn't affect the finishing of the study, which they have planned, and it was basically said, well, let's extend it for an extra couple of weeks. So not trying to circumvent council at all, because it wasn't going to have an effect of cost or anything like that. Just trying to do what's right and just trying to figure out the best way that we can get. And the side of that too as well, which I think in that conversation with Karen, which was fantastic, is Karen pointed out some more people that were missing from, or that were interested in doing the survey that needed paper copies. So we were able to get some paper copies, make sure that we had those made up. And I'm hoping Karen or Councillor Jennings is able to distribute that to the people that we're looking at, so we can actually get even better feedback and more feedback. And really, that's, at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. So very good, very valid point. So thank you.
Reeve Thompson.
Yeah, thank you. I have no problem. I think it's great. The extension is great, and the more we get answering it, the better. But I guess thinking of numbers in families, like I originally only thought one per family was enough, but I have no problem two for a family. But if there's a family of say 8 or 9 or 10 with a whole lot of kids, well, I think the survey starts to get a little bit skewed if you allow everybody in the household to fill that out. Like when you start say comparing, well, there's a home with one senior and a home with 2 adults and say 7 or 8 kids. Well, then to me, like I just think it's kind of not really fair to the household that only has one. That's just a comment. That's how I feel about it. So,
well, aren't most surveys basically done based on just household? Not, any surveys we've done in the past, that the surveys come from the household, and that involved all the individuals. So I'm just curious as to how this would work, really. Councillor Jennings.
That was the intent. Originally, when the survey went out, it was limited to 1 per household, and it was locked at 1 per household. Then the extension went through, and that seems to be where the glitch happened, to allow multiple times to go on. So when I found it on Friday and I contacted Jeff, I had done it 4 times just to test it. And it was all 4 times, same from the internet, same from my phone. Then I used my tablet. So it was allowing me multiple times. Mary Catherine did email me Monday, and she said, it's locked. You're not supposed to be able to. I tried it again twice and it allowed me still back in. I've tried again today. It's still allowing me to go on multiple times. So there is a glitch with the system for allowing multiple times to take the survey.
So who do we go to fix that glitch if we feel it is who set up the survey?
Let's go back to Mary Catherine and bring. I mean, Councillor Jennings bring up an issue with the survey right now. I mean, we want to address that. So if we can get back to Mary Catherine to say, well, there's still issues or there's a problem there, so she can figure it out, because it's through SurveyMonkey and everything else. So I mean, like, it should be, yeah. Let's get that repaired.
Okay, can we leave it with the rec committee then to get that resolved? Yes, Joanna.
Mary Kate is aware of that now. I believe Karen and Mary Catherine were talking about that, so I think she'll probably be looking at fixing that. And again, I want to apologize for the extension as well. I know Jeff and I had a conversation. I was, we were all busy doing things. I don't think it was any malicious intent. But I should have thought about that more clearly. So that my apologies as well on that front.
Okay, Councillor Straight.
So I have a bit of a problem with this whole thing. First of all, extensions come from council, not from one member of council, from council as a whole. We vote on it. This is a study that we're paying for. And I don't understand how certain council members seem to be outreaching to the person who's doing the study to manipulate the study in ways that may benefit them. And that's exactly what this looks like. Now I've done the study, I've done the feasibility study 5 times myself, because if you have 5 devices in your house, you can easily do it. It's not hard. Every person that has an iPad, an iPhone, any of those things can go on there and do the study. So what the studies have now, the information is skewed. In the past, since I've been on council, we typically do not have members of council contacting the people that are doing the study. If somebody's going to contact the person that's doing the study, it should be the clerk administrator. All of us that are on council have different views of what needs to happen at the end of the day. And it's very important that the information that we get back that we paid money for from the study comes back unfiltered from us. Taxpayers' money at the end of the day that we're playing with, and there's none of us that should be here, in my opinion, should be playing with this. We should not be contacting her. If we have questions, all the questions should be copied to all of members of council through the clerk administrator, not through members of council personally.
Okay, Reeve Dobson.
Yeah, I right now have a big concern here because how the question now is, how skewed is our survey, and can it even be repaired? If somebody's already done it 5 times, does it just show up as 5 separate surveys, or how can this be repaired? And maybe it can't be repaired. So if it can't be, then how skewed is it? Is it skewed by 1% or 3% or 5%? And it's now on YouTube. So is it going to get more skewed?
Okay, my question is, how did we get to this point? Councillor Carroll.
I mean, I think part of it too, as well, is that can we fix this? Yeah, I mean, we can go back to the date that when all those things come in, there's a date that they roll in under. And I mean, we can go back, especially like if Councillor Straight and Councillor Jennings did an extra 10 survey fills in the last few days, we want to make sure that those are not part of the survey. So we obviously going back to the end of March, and we can go back and have a cutoff date at that, and just say that anything after that is no longer part of the survey. So I mean, so as far as that goes, that should be fixable. We can get confirmation from Mary Catherine about that too as well. As far as manipulating the survey or trying to manipulate anything else, I mean, I would caution councillors to throw accusations out there, because the idea of being on council, in my opinion, this is why I went on it, is to try to figure out what would the best we can do for the community. I don't have an underlining side of it to try to manipulate something. And the idea is to make sure that we can reach out to as many things, as many people as possible, and to reach out to many organizations. I know Mary Catherine had reached out to all of us on a few occasions at the beginning of the survey, asking for support, help, feedback on anything else. I routinely got back to her with information. And I'm not trying to say anything, I'm not trying to throw, but since Councillor did bring it up, she repeatedly said to me that I was the only one getting back to her with all that information. So she kept coming back to me, and that was a bit of a mistake where I maybe should have said, you know what, I got to push this back. But I just, I want to answer the calls. I want to, and I want to say, like, whatever we can do. I had no point ever tried to manipulate the questions or manipulate the survey. It's about trying to get as much feedback so we can have the best answers, so we can do what's best for the community. That's the whole reason why I'm in this. So I caution any accusations that we want to talk about in our council meetings that there better be factorial behind it, as I do not want my credibility brought into play when what I'm trying to do is what's best for our community, and I do not have a malicious intent behind it. So I appreciate that. And thank you.
Okay, I think, Joanna, I tend to agree a little bit with Councillor Carroll. I think we got to be a little bit careful with our comments sometimes. Can we go back?
Oh, we
to
shouldn't
March?
be, we have to be more than a little bit careful. Sorry for
know.
interrupting, but we have to be more than a little bit careful. We're
Well,
stepping out of bounds here.
okay, so let's put our heads together and correct this situation, and maybe be a little more civil with our comments, if we could, please. Joanna, can we go back to March, that cutoff point with this survey, and take it from there and then eliminate all these multiple surveys that were sent in?
I believe the first extension was March 11th. I'd have to go back and check the date, but we could certainly just close the survey at that point. I don't know how many responses there would be, but certainly that would be before things could potentially have gotten skewed. I don't know whether Mary Catherine has the ability to go back and be able to see what IP address everything came from and delete those multiples. I don't know. I'd have to talk to her about that. The most reasonable way to proceed where we know that nothing has been skewed is to end it at the very first extension date, sometime in the middle of March. But I would like direction for that from council.
Okay, can we get a Councillor Carroll?
I was gonna say, can we get Mary Catherine just to basically give us that, basically all those questions? She'll be able to give you that information before we make obviously a decision. We can get Mary Catherine to say, here's sort of the information, here's where the counts are, and here's where there's like everything she can give us, and then we can make a more informed decision.
I can answer that.
Yes, Councillor Jennings.
So Mary Catherine had emailed me when she said it was locked, and I said, well, no, it wasn't. And I said, I'd gone back. She says, I hope that they can delete the extras. That's her answer. So that's because it's through this, whoever's hosting the monkey survey, it's not even her. At least according to her, she's saying she reached out to the people that were doing it. And that's where it was like, no, it's locked. And I said to her, no, it's not. So that was her reply, was that, okay, hope they can delete the extras. But I have a comment.
Yes.
So my comment is in reference to wanting to get the most amount in results. Well, if you put a deadline out and you're not getting as many results as you're thinking, there is a reason. It's if people aren't bothering to respond, they either don't care, or the thought is we're going to do what we want to do anyway. Because every survey that we've done, we haven't had a large response to it. So this is no different than any other than we did extend it now twice. So the reason we put it out to other municipalities, we put it out to other recreation users. Again, if those people aren't getting back, you know, it's either we're not high on their priority list or they're not concerned. So I don't know extending it, how that was supposed to help. I mean, you might have got a few people that trickled through, but if they were going to really answer the question by doing it online, they would have done it within that first time frame of getting the survey out. Because I mean, we had it posted through the social media feeds and everything. So it was there for people to know that we're on the social platforms, because that's how we were putting it through. Now we do have, as of this afternoon, late this afternoon, Mary Catherine did email Jeff and I a PDF version so that those that weren't able to do the online could do a paper trail, because we didn't do that originally. But if we're going to cut it off, are we going to move forward with that? But again, it's like if people didn't answer by the middle of March and didn't answer by the end of March, I think that was trying to tell us something. And I don't know, keep pushing it to try and get numbers higher isn't really an answer.
Okay, Reeve Dobson.
Yeah, like just to let everybody know, in the beginning, they contacted each of us And we each of us had our kick at the can, and we all said what we thought was the our priorities and so on. So as far as I was concerned, we gave them all of the information, and they were to go ahead and work on the survey and then come back and do their report to us and so on. What I am concerned about right now is we've got emails floating back and forth between them and you, Karen, them and you, Jeff. Like I'm out in the left field here. These things should be coming to all of us at the same time. Like there's too much of this dissecting, and it's hard to make decisions when you're not getting all of the information. And if they want to hear from us all, then email us all.
Yeah.
It's wrong. It's wrong what's happening. Like I maybe could have, but I thought we'd already given the information individually, and I wasn't about to be sending them back tidbits of information and questions here and questions there and maybe little additions and stuff. Like I didn't, and I feel a little bit guilty that I didn't, because it sounds like Jeff, you and Karen were doing good by doing that, and I admire you, but the information should, when it's coming back from the study that we're paying for, we all should be getting the same information from them.
Well, I answered Mary Kay's, all her questions too, when she did the study, and I thought after I did that, I was done. That was it. That was the end of it. And then we go into the report and be analyzed and be part of the study. So
My communication
Karen,
came
we
in.
need to move on.
My communication only came into play because of the fact that I saw the extension on Friday and then went on and was able to do it multiple times. That's because I was shocked to find out it had been extended, and then shocked to find out that I could do it multiple times. That was my communication.
Okay. So we do have a motion here, moved by Ian Straight, second by Reeve Dobson. The minutes of the Recreation Committee, March 19th and March 23rd, 2021 be approved as circulated. All those in favor? That's carried. And Councillor Straight, I would appreciate maybe you being a little more friendly with some of your comments, okay? Thank you. Okay.
Jeff has a question.
Oh, sorry, Jeff.
I just want to bring up, because about the Recreation Committee's the flag idea they have. So, I mean, I don't think we need, is that part of that approval too as well? Or like, I mean, I don't think we had to approve it, but I just want to make sure that everything gets sort of like okayed, I guess. Joanna?
I don't see a problem myself unless someone has an objection to that. No?
We're good?
Good.
Yeah, it's gone through, everything's cool. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, so we have some bylaws to put through here. Moved by Councillor Karen Jennings, second by Councillor Jeff Carroll, that bylaw number 3824 be a bylaw to establish highways and provide the roads classification, being read a first and second time and third time passed, signed, sealed this 6th day of April 2021. All those in favor? Thank you. Next one is moved by Reeve Dobson, second by Councillor Ian Straight. The bylaw number 3825 be a bylaw to authorize the agreement between the Township of Montague and the County of Lanark for provision of planning services, being read the first and second and third time passed, signed, sealed this 6th day of April 2021. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. Moved by Councillor Jeffrey Carroll, second by Councillor Karen Jennings, that this bylaw number 3826 be a bylaw to authorize the agreement between the Township of Montague and the County of Lanark in conjunction with ZCOM for the provision of firewall services. Be read the first and second and third time passed, signed, sealed this 6th day of April 2021. All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, so we have some Action items. The township of item G, Councillor Carroll, I believe you brought that forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had someone also email us about this to us as well, which is fantastic.
Yep.
The one that I wanted to bring forth, it's just about obviously a couple of the different townships are kind of going about our friend Randy Hillier and just about sort of the way that he's acting. And I think his latest tweet referring to the Nazis as far as the health department goes really that sings over the hill. So I mean, I obviously would think that we'd want to support that kind of rhetoric is not something that is what we're looking for in a leader in our MPP.
Any comments on that? I've heard that myself too, those comments that he's made, and there's growing support for him. There's previous members of council, present members of council that are supporting him. The interesting thing is a lot of them are not necessarily around here. Some of it's from out west and across Canada. It's something that I don't think those people that are supporting him really understand just what on earth problems he's causing here. And coincidentally, if you watch W5, he's not the only one that's trumping away about the COVID situation and that. But I'm not sure, Councillor Carroll, I've no problem supporting Frontenac, South Frontenac's letter to send off to the province, but I think there's very little that can be done. I mean, he's been put out as a independent. He has no say in the House whatsoever. And I guess he's still collecting a paycheck, but he doesn't represent us well. And my concern is, and it's been discussed at county too a little bit, my concern is he's making a bad mark on the entire county. All of us, he's making all of us look bad throughout Ontario and Canada. But can he be removed from his office? No, not from what I understand.
He can't be removed. That's the one big part. But it's more of like if all of us are saying like that's, I mean, everybody can have their opinion for sure, and I'm all for making sure that people are their opinions. It's the way that obviously is being conducted, and I think that's really the message too, as well, is that like all of the municipalities in his area are kind of saying, we don't want you to be saying this. It's not representing the way that we want to be represented. And I mean, will it have him slow down his rhetoric or be a little bit more respectful? I mean, I don't know, but I mean, it's our due diligence to kind of say that's not what we're looking for as far as the leader goes. So
I would certainly agree with you on the due diligence part, and I have no problem in sending out a letter and support and so forth. Will it fall on deaf ears with Randy? I'm afraid it would. I mean, I've seen the man in action at functions and so forth, and it's Randy's way or the highway. And unfortunately, that's the way the man operates, and some people listen to him and some don't. But anyway, sorry, it's the group's feeling. Yes, Reeve Dobson.
Yeah, no, I just, if you were looking for somebody to second the resolution that Jeffrey is, Councillor Carroll is supporting, then I'll second that.
Okay. You have that, Joanna, down? Jeffrey Carroll's putting forth a resolution to support South Frontenac's resolution. And we'll send that off. Send a copy to everybody. Might as well. All those in favor of moving this forward? Good. Thank you very much.
I think one of his main supporters kind of left his caucus yesterday. One of the top supporters he had left his caucus yesterday. So the cracks are opening up.
Oh, they are. But if you, not to advertise a TV show, but if you watch W5 with that minister in Aylmer, Quebec, Randy doesn't hold a candle to this guy. He's even worse. So the world's full of radicals. That's all there is to it. Okay, I don't think there's anything else. So council, moved by Councillor Ian Straight, second by Reeve Dobson. The councillor, sorry, yes. Questions from the public? I keep forgetting that every time. Thank you, Karen. You're gonna just have to reach out there and give me a slap inside the head. Questions, Christie, from the public? Hello, Christie.
Karen, though.
I don't have any questions here on my end.
Joanna?
No, I have one for the committee of the whole that was sent earlier, but we'll get to that after when we get to committee of the whole, but nothing for council.
Okay, Karen?
Did I miss whoever brought forward 8H?
That's what I was going to bring up. I thought someone brought H.
Was brought up to start.
Because I wrote it down, but
Okay. I just had the one from Councillor Carroll. I'm sorry. Who brought forward Township of Pickle Lake proposed revision of Municipal Election Act? Somebody bring that forward? Sorry,
Oh.
Karen.
no, but
Oh,
I
I
just
have
wrote
that
it down with the small, like when you read it.
Yeah, I know. Joanna?
I
No.
don't, maybe it was a typo from the previous one, if no one brought it forward. I had that written down too, though, but if no one brought forward from
No one's
Pickle
brought
Lake, I don't
forward.
know.
I'm kind of lost for. Okay, well, we'll move on now, okay?
Yep.
Okay, so no questions from the public, no Facebook comments, Joanna, nothing? Christie, nothing, okay. So moved by Councillor Ian Straight, second by Reeve Dobson at the council recess at, what time is it, folks?
8.
8:08, 8:01,
No, 8.
8 or 8:01, Karen?
Oh, 8:01 is good, but it was 8. That's what I
It
was
was
trying to
8. Well,
say.
it was 8 when I started talking. I flipped 8:01 now. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll take a couple of minutes, then we'll move into committee of the whole. Nope, we're back on again. Say we're back on again. Sorry about that. Get it, Jeff?
Hey,
You still awake?
wide awake and bushy-tailed.
How much maple syrup did you manage to boil there on the weekend?
This was a terrible year. Like we ended up doing like 20 some liters, but I mean, like the amount of sap like was probably a fifth of what we got last year. And I tapped more trees this year.
Really?
Like it was just a brutal year for like last year I couldn't keep up with the trees I had and it was pouring out sap. And this year was like, where's the sap? Where's the sap? It was, yeah, the weather just was not kind as far as it goes. So I mean, some of it was fun.
Probably not enough rain and snow during before.
And that cold, hot thing, right? All of a sudden it got hot and it wasn't going down to freezing. So you lost all those nights. And anyways, it was just, yeah, it wasn't good. So
huh.
I hope other people in the township had better success than I did.
Okay. Do we have everybody back again? Everybody's on board? Okay, we'll go ahead and get started then. Sorry, where's all my, it's over here. Okay, moved by Councillor Karen Jennings, second by Councillor Jeff Carroll. The committee of the whole agenda dated April 6th be approved. All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, moved by Councillor Ian Straight, second by Councillor Reid Dobson, that the committee of the whole receive the report from Public Stephen Rathwell. Are you there, Stephen? Sorry, Ian. Yes?
Yeah, just based on some of the information that's in the item 3A, I'd like to disclose a jeepers conflict of interest in regards to it.
Oh, okay. All right, duly noted.
As my brother was on the original contract of the first contract.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Reid Dobson?
Yeah, we still have to do the disclosure of interest before we go into the meeting.
All right, sorry, I missed it again. Okay, does anyone wish to declare the conflict of interest may do so now, as Ian has just done, or at the time when any items come up. Okay, Stephen, you're with us?
Steve, go.
Did we lose him, Joanna? I don't see him on the screen.
Yeah, I'll just give him a call.
Thanks. This is in regards to the grass cutting.
Sorry, somebody has got Steve thrown off. He's trying to get back in right now.
Okay. There he is there. I think he's coming back on, Joanne. There he is. You back with us, Stephen?
Yes.
All righty. Thanks very much. Okay, in regards to the grass cutting.
Yeah. So the recommendation is that committee of the whole by staff to place roadside mowing contract extension to Lewis Farms on next council agenda for tendered in 2018. There's 2 bids received. There was a pretty heavy difference between prices. It was kind of a one competitive bid, one non-competitive bid. It was for both. Part 1 was for our township and part 2 was for the airport. It was a huge differential between the two. Lewis Farms has reached out and offered an extension and honor his existing price. And staff also mentioned to Lewis Farms about council's request to have 2 cuts completed at the 22 acres. He stated that 1 cut he has included in his rates. He's fine with doing that, but in addition, every additional cut thereafter would be $250 per cut. And yeah, that's basically just looking for a direction to extend this contract.
Stephen, how many responses did we get?
There was 2 in 2018.
And right now, how many have you got for the going forward? 2?
This is just the one. They've offered an extension. We haven't reached out to
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. No, you were saying there's quite a difference between one or the other, and I was just curious how many there were. So, okay. Karen.
So the first question I have was, in the original contract, does it address extension of a contract?
It says a 1-year extension will be offered, yes.
Okay.
Then.
Second.
Yes, Karen.
So our procurement policy does state that we shall go out for quotations, does it not?
That's correct.
Okay.
There we go again. But in the contract, he was indicated to the present supplier that an extension would be available. Is this correct, Stephen?
That's correct.
Now, is that extension be negotiated or we just extend it?
It offers an extension, and as per council, we either award it or we go back for quotation, hoping we receive other bids.
And our last go around, how many bids did we receive?
There was 2.
There was 2. Okay, what's the feeling of council then? Karen, you have further? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say consistency is a big thing, because we discuss about doing extensions in a contract, but we have no discussion about the extension of our gravel contract, and we go out and we get quotes and stuff. It's just, I'd like to see that either we're going to follow our policy or we're going to at least have some consistency, because we have a procurement policy. I want to get the best price. So, and I mean, if we only had 2 last time, that's the case, but it's just the fact that when we're looking at what does our policy say versus what we're doing, and we did bypass it once before by majority of council, it's just, Steve, when you did your surveys of your other municipalities, what were the salary or what were the rates comparable? Were they comparable?
We were getting a good deal.
Okay. And nothing's changed within the contract as in kilometers that we're going to be doing our roadside mowing on or any of that?
That's correct. Nothing has changed.
Steve, how far were the last time we did this? We had 2 contractors putting a bid in. Were there quite a distance apart on that one?
As stated, we had 1 competitive bid.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
We had one competitive bid.
One
Okay,
competitive.
I don't think the Reeve got the answer that I was.
There was
Sorry.
There was a drastic price difference between the 2 bids received.
Okay. And there was just the 2.
That's correct.
Do you feel as the public works manager that there's going to be a drastic difference between the 2 of them again?
I cannot, I can't predict the future, but in my own opinion, I do not feel we will get a better price completing a quotation.
That's right. Okay, so the The motion is moved by, well, it can't be moved by Ian again, sorry. Who else is? Councillor Carroll? Okay, I made a change in mind, Joanna, we'll correct that. Okay, moved by Councillor Carroll, second by Reeve Dobson. The committee of the whole received the following report. Public Works Manager S. Rathbot, grass cutting. The following be recommended to council that the committee of the whole advise staff to place the roadside mowing contract extension to Lewis Farms on the next council agenda for award. All those in favor? Bill, I didn't see your hand up.
No, I just, is Jeff asking a question or
Oh,
voting?
all in
No.
favor, all in favor.
All in favor?
Oh, okay, okay.
All in favor of moving forward on the contract to Lewis Farms? 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much, Stephen. And the next one's yours also. That's dealing with the gravel contract.
I'll just get
Give to Ian
Ian
back.
back.
Yes, invite Ian back. We'll let him come back. There he is. Okay, there, Ian?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so go ahead, Stephen.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so we're moving forward on 2021 Public Works tender for a 2-year gravel tender. The recommendation is committee of the whole direct staff to place award of the tender to Campbell's Trucking Limited on the next council agenda. So on December 21st, the recommendation given to staff was to prepare a 2-year gravel tender as outlined in the current gravel schedule. So we advertised on the municipal website, newspaper, Bidding Go, and 20 days. There was 6 companies which obtained the tender documents by email and Bidding Go and 1 in person. There was a total of 3 bids that were received. There was 2 competitive bids, and low bid was obtained from Campbell's Trucking for 2021 at a price of $273,082.63, including non-recoverable HST. And as written here, it is actually above the 2021 budget of $200,034. But that is including the full cost of Montague Boundary, which will be 50% of that will be billed. So thereafter, it'll be $232,476.01. The benefit of this contract is obviously that we have 2 years guaranteed pricing, gives us flexibility for our budgeting purposes. And then there's also a 2 years of 1 year extensions as agreed upon by the Public Works Manager, as well as the contractor themselves. I've included a attachment on a rejig gravel schedule. This was to keep, if we were going to keep that $230,000, it would add an additional year to the current 4-year schedule. And that's completing 20 kilometers a year. In the contract or the tender itself, there's a clause which is that it is agreed that the quotation of quantities are estimation only, and township can, without alteration, increase by up to 40%. And as mentioned, Campbell's Trucking has done a lot of work with the township. There's a great rapport between our lead hand who runs the operation and Campbell's, and the staff is recommending that we proceed forward and award the tender to Campbell's Trucking on the next agenda of council.
Okay, any questions in regards to this? Yes, Councillor Carroll.
I think real quick, because like Stephen alluded to that 5th year, and I don't think we want to take that step backwards. That step backwards was done in the past, which dropped our gravel down to $100,000 a year. So I think we have to make sure that we're conscious, and maybe even now it's next year, but committing that we're going to have to increase our gravel budget by $50,000 next year to continue with the commitment of the 4-year cycle and the commitment of the roads too as well. So just, I don't know if it's on the forefront of our mind or the back of our mind, and make sure it's in Andrew's mind that has to be sort of ready to go in that first draft, that we have that 280 to 285,000 in our next year's budget.
Okay, Councillor Reeve Dobson, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a question, it's for Stephen. Are we doing any gravel along the edges of any of the roads this year? Like we have some years we do none, some years we do some. Who does that? I know it's a separate, I guess, contract, but I just wanted to know, are we doing any of that gravel along any of the roads this year?
There is no shouldering budget allocated.
And I guess, well, maybe it's the wrong time to ask, but I would think the more we do of that along the edges, the more sustainable the pavement is, especially I'm talking surfaced or paved roads. And so, like if there's a road that's going to be paved, then obviously, no, it's not a good idea. There's no point. You may as well wait till it's newly done. But certainly some of that gravel does deteriorate and get moved into the ditches and that over the years. So is that something that we should be putting on the table for a future discussion, like for next year's budget? Because I'm thinking that there maybe should be some of that like done every year. Just a question.
Yeah, there's a lot of kinks that I'm sorting out through the budget process as I was kind of brought in late in the year. There's things that I have definitely put on my agenda, which will be put on the next budget conversations. And that's definitely a recommendation that I agree with and will be including on future budget talks.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? None? Thank you very much. Okay, moved by Reeve Duff. Again, we're gonna have to change Ian's name on here again. Jeff, I'm gonna put your name on there again.
You can approve this.
Hey,
He can do this.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he can do this.
Yeah.
I was thinking of something else. Okay, moved by Reeve Dobson, seconded by Councillor Ian Straight, that the committee of the whole received the following report. Public Works Manager S. Rathwell, gravel tender, and the following being recommended to council. That the committee of the whole directs staff to place award of tender 2021 PW02 to Campbell's Trucking Limited for the next council agenda. All those in favor? Okay, my apologies, Ian.
That's all right.
Okay. Additional funding for the airport contract. Joanna, that's yours.
I think we have the salt tender.
Oh, salt tender. Yes, I flipped over one page too many. Sorry, Stephen, the salt tender.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So recommendation is for the supply and delivery of bulk highway coarse salt. The recommendation is that committee of the whole directs staff to place award of supply and delivery of bulk highway coarse salt on the next council agenda. So Lander County completed a tender for bulk coarse highway salt supply and delivery. They completed this with low bid being Cargill Salt, who we currently utilize. In this, the previous rate was $105.87. The low bid was received at $95.81, and then years 2 and 3 are inflated by CPI. And obviously, this is about a $10 per unit price decrease from the current contract price. And I apologize for putting in there that the 114 was the previous contract. I apologize. And then the director from the county reached out to other municipalities and counties, and from Leeds and Grenville, we're about $4 a ton less with low bid and $2 less in Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry. And the other note is that although we do have a large quantity of salt that we are in this tender, a lot of it is actually stored and utilized by the county. We use some of it, but majority is used by the county.
Okay, so what you're saying, the salt prices have come down a bit, Stephen?
That's correct. Yeah, in the past couple of years, there was a bunch with the shipping and that that drove the prices up, and the additional mine up in down below the Great Lakes, it's functioning, and it's actually made everything a little more competitive and brought our current contractor hit their price down as well. So it's a benefit for sure.
Any questions in regards to this? Seeing none, thank you very much. It's really easy. Moved by Councillor Jennings, second by Councillor Carroll. The committee of the whole received the following report. Public Works Manager S. Rothwell, salt tender. And the following be recommended to council that the committee of the whole direct staff to place award of supply and delivery of bulk coarse salt, highway salt on the next council agenda. All those in favor? Very good. Thank you. And I think that's it for you for the night, Stephen.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, he signed off now. So now, Joanna, additional funding for airport contract, Mr. Snow.
Okay, so just as a bit of an update, the staff and council members from Montague Township have been working with Smith Falls, various members of council and staff, and the airport to sort of make way on the airport agreement. We have been making a great deal of headway, and a lot of the group believes that they're in the position to get this agreement signed in the near future. There are a few things that have to be done, though. One of them is a formal financial review of potential operating and capital costs of the airport, and a better understanding of the airport assets and the replacement schedules needs to be confirmed. So the airport has provided staff with some of this information. We'll have to take a closer look at our asset management plan to see what's in it and what is not in it, but we need to sort of like look at these points, bring them forward. It was suggested that Mr. Snow, who, as you know, is sort of the consultant on this file, has this knowledge of what the airport likely would need and what the potential operating capital costs would be moving forward. Currently, Montague doesn't have members of staff with the experience available to sort of help with putting these pieces of the information together, and Smith Falls staff are otherwise engaged in other projects. So we're looking at extending Mr. Snow's services for these projects. We had agreed to pay an amount, and we have reached the maximum amount we had agreed to pay for previously. In fact, I think we may have exceeded it a little bit. I was informed at the last meeting. So we are looking at the potential for an additional extra maximum of 12 hours of Mr. Snow's time for approximately another $225 from what was previously budgeted.
Okay, that's it, Joanna. Okay, questions? Councillor Carroll?
Are we gonna kind of see these agreements and everything else kind of before they're said and done? Like we're like this is just to get all of it together, and then it kind of comes to us as a discussion point too as well. Okay,
yes, we will see those agreements.
Yeah, I just want them to be like approved, and that's when we see them. It's like we're seeing them as part of that. Like this is like all the fact finding and the information to help us get there. Correct?
Yes,
yeah.
Joanna.
Just today, we just very briefly saw a very, very rough first draft. So I think we're getting to about the stage where we're going to have to bring it back before you guys, because there are some negotiation points I think that we're going to want to go over with everybody. So I'd say we're almost at the point of bringing this sort of first or second draft in front of you guys to take a look at. That's how I see it anyways. I won't speak for the members of council. That's sort of how I see it happening.
Okay, Reeve Dobson.
Yeah, and this first draft hasn't been seen yet by the Smith Falls Flying Club. It's only been back and forth between the two negotiating teams. But these agreements have to be signed by both councils anyways, and the information has to come back to both councils first, so.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Carroll?
I was just gonna say, so Mr., like, in your opinion, Joanna, like Mr. Snow's sort of opinion on the matter is gonna be a benefit to getting us to where we need to go.
Yeah.
Am I putting you in the wrong spot? Sorry. I mean, it's.
I think that we have a lot of the information from the Smiths Falls Airport. I think it's the fact that we don't necessarily have the staff able to have the time or necessarily the expertise to compile it and make sense of it. I think we have all the information available, and we could certainly rely heavily on the airport for that. But I think generally as a group, the idea is that Mr. Snow would be able to provide certainly, help and services in that regard.
Thank you.
Yes, Karen?
Just in reading about what it is Mr. Snow's doing here in reference to understanding the roles and responsibilities regarding the ownership commission, the flying club, etc. But then it gets into he's going to assist with the contract negotiations, provide technical advice to develop long-term capital replacement program for all airport capital assets, complete with a financial plan. But I mean, great that he can do that, but I would think that our own airport people have something, because they have strict regulations under whatever the air flights come in under to know about what all their capital have to be replaced. We don't own anything out there to know the maintenance that's been done. So what are we trying to do as council in reference to something that is being run and operated by people that have the expertise in it? So what is it we're doing versus having them do?
Joanna?
So I think maybe I'll let these other two members take this question, but I just or sort of state their opinion. That's sort of what I was trying to get at. I think the airport has that information. It's more I think probably just having comfort that a second set of eyes has looked at it to be sure that things haven't been missed or overlooked or other ideas to throw out there perhaps. But yeah, I mean, I think we do need to rely heavily on the airport's information, because obviously they are the ones that know best what assets need to be replaced, what the future looks like for them.
Can I follow up by asking, have we even asked them for any of this sort of information?
They have been asked, yes.
Have they provided it yet?
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Straight?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Joanna, for the report, and thanks for bringing us up to speed of what's going on. I guess a couple of concerns that I have are the sustainability of what it is that we're looking at. We're talking about capital. Who owns ownership? Is that ownership of the buildings? Is that ownership of the land? What is it we're discussing here? And who's figuring that out on our behalf, or making sure that we have a strong voice in figuring it out to make sure that we're well represented. I guess the other thing is, economic impact. We're not talking about any of that kind of stuff, but we're talking about capital and what this is going to cost. There's no economic benefit analysis. There's none of these things. So I'm just wondering why we're going at it kind of 3/4 of the way. Why we don't go the whole way and make sure that before we get into an agreement or sign an agreement about capital assets and everything else, and that we know that it's a sustainable, viable thing.
And I think that's what the whole point of this financial plan is, to ensure that it is sustainable, and that, what the costs are going to be, operating costs, capital costs, what are the costs, moving forward. Are there additional items that need to be added to over the years? For example, do we need to make the runway bigger? Items like that we don't necessarily have those answers to, that the airport would probably have the answers to, and then we'd look at it more thoroughly between all three parties, with the help of Mr. Snow, who obviously would sort of have a sense of how these things work.
Okay, Councillor Straight?
Just a follow-up, I guess. So the financial review encompasses that whole thing, I guess, then? It does,
Yeah.
it's doing the economics and how it impacts the two townships, or the town of Smith Falls and the township of Montague. Economically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Councillor Reeve Dobson?
Yeah, I'm thinking that for this amount of money, it's whatever, 200 and some dollars.
225.
Pardon me? Yeah.
I think it's 225.
293.
Yeah. So I think it's not a lot of money, but it's money well spent. And it's like we're utilizing him now before we actually take the draft to the club. So I think to your concerning, I do feel that you do have good representation, if you were questioning that. So you do have that I think, good representation, but it's good to have his eyes and ears on our behalf before we go to the club. And the other thing that he has expertise in also is that because he's been involved in airports, he has worked and he has expertise in discussion with NAV Canada, and he can ask the right questions with NAV Canada, which is who the airport talks to all the time anyway. So we want to make sure that our interests are there, and I also think that although some people may think that we're closer to getting an agreement, I don't think we are. I think it'll be a while yet, and I think there's going to be definitely more than one draft, because we haven't even brought it to the club yet. And we're trying to do all our own homework first. So I think that it's good. It's money well spent for the 200 and some dollars for him working on our behalf. I wasn't so sure of it in the beginning, but as we move forward for the cost, I feel pretty confident in it.
I think too, from myself sitting on the board in negotiations and so forth, but having Mr. Snow, as Joanne had said, a second set of eyes has been helpful a lot. He's been bringing quite a bit of good information forward over his years of experience dealing with airports. With no further questions, we'll move on then. Moved by Councillor Straight, second by Reeve Dobson. The committee of the whole received the following report. Clerk Administrator Joanna Bowes, additional funding for airport contract, and that the following be recommended to council. The council directs staff to approve an amount greater than that 293.75 originally approved for consultation purposes in order to move forward to have the third-party airport agreement reviewed and signed. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Next is yours also, Joanna, education session.
Okay, I usually have my report open, but I'm just gonna wing it because otherwise it'll take me too long to find it. Essentially, just suggesting, I believe at the beginning of the term of council, basically council members all over Lanark County went to an education session with the Integrity Commissioner, just about, various topics, in-camera meetings, quorum, all the sort of basics of being a member of council. I myself, being in this position, have not had the opportunity to go to one of those. And given that we're about halfway through the council term, I thought it would be beneficial to have a refresher, just to refresh ourselves on all of these topics. So I had spoken with our Integrity Commissioner to look into the cost of having him come out and give us a talk and allow us, time to ask questions, any discussions we might want to have. So he's willing to come out for about a 2-hour session. The cost is about $800. Those dates were, at the time I called, he was able to book into partway through May. I do also know the county is going through a similar process where they just take the staff and the council members and do an update partway through the year. They don't have a time scheduled yet, but they've also sort of extended the invitation. If we didn't want to do this just as a smaller group, we could sort of latch onto their education session. I don't know what the cost would be. I assume it would be a little bit less, but equally we don't have a time frame for when that might happen. So just looking for input on that.
Okay, Reeve Dawson, question?
Yeah, I'm thinking that like the first, I've been to at least two. I think we've all been to some of them, but the other ones were all kind of hosted by the county. And I don't think that we paid anything. I think it was just we were invited to be a part of it, and we tagged along. And I would like to see us find out first of all if there is a cost. If there is a cost, if we tagged along to the county one, if there still is a cost, there may not be any cost. And if he was doing the same presentation at the county, then it certainly makes sense to me that we not duplicate it. If the county wasn't doing it, I'm 100% in favor of this. But if the county's doing it, then why would we duplicate it? So it's just a question.
It's just that we don't have the time period for the county, that's all. But we'll see what times they book. I can follow up with that.
Councillor Carroll?
I think it's a great idea to make sure that we're basically all following the right path and we're doing everything right. And I think we can learn things from it. The nice thing about being small, just on Bill's point though, is that we can kind of almost have more of a conversation where if we're looped in with the county, that means that, and if other ones are involved. I mean, I know in those, when we went to the group sessions, I mean, there's whatever, I don't know, 40 or 50 of us in a room. So like, maybe to get some of those questions you're thinking about asking or not, or whatever, it is nice in a more intimate setting in that sense. So even if like we can find out if the county's doing it or not, and if we still have to pay for some of it, I mean, if we had to pay, I'm going to say $400 to be part of the county and we have to do $800 by ourselves, I almost want to do $800 by ourselves, just because it gives us that ability to really have an easier conversation instead of it just being a presentation. It could be a conversation, which I think is more beneficial in something like this.
I agree.
Those kind of was going to be my comments too, and just ask the group, how do you feel about, in a session of this nature with Integrity Commissioner to be able to ask questions in the open? There's, 30, 40 other people there. I mean, I've been in some of these large sessions and sometimes to get a question out is rather difficult. Sometimes we might feel more comfortable in a small group as opposed to a large group in that. It's just a personal comment. I know myself, I've been in the large groups and it's very difficult to get any particular question out that you want to ask. And some people, I mean, there's a rule, no question is a dumb question, but some people still feel embarrassed about asking any questions. All feel that they're kind of come across stupid. Sorry, don't mean to make that comment. Joanna?
I just wanted to clarify because I don't think I said it. It would be done in the format of an education session. So it's essentially in camera. So it would just be like this group in camera. So you can, like Claus says, there's no stupid question, but you don't have to feel stupid. It's not like you're asking it in front of a whole lot of people. It's just in front of the group. So it would be like an in-camera education only session.
Joanna, being the fact that the situation we're in right now in the gray zone is going to haunt us for the next 4 weeks, and you were saying you're looking at potential dates in May or something, I would presume that if we do this as a council ourselves, it would be virtual. It would not be in person.
Yeah.
If the county was going to do it, it would be virtual also.
I would assume so.
Therefore, you're going to have a very large number of people in something like that, and to do something like this kind of training thing in a large group setting of 20, 25 people in virtual, that could be rather difficult. I don't think you're going to be able to get a chance to ask too many questions. Any other further comments before we move forward? Okay, so I'll read the motion. Moved by Councillor Carroll, second by Councillor Jennings, that the committee of the whole receive the following report. Clerk Administrator Joanna Bose, education session, and the following be recommended to council. The council directs staff to book an education session with the Integrity Commissioner to update and educate council and staff on various topics. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Terms of reference to recreation. And that's yours also, Joanna.
Yeah, so I believe with the last meeting, it got brought up that we had made several changes. The potential addition of 4 new members to the Recreation Committee, the removal of myself as clerk administrator. And so we thought we would take a look at the terms of reference to modify those to, just acknowledge those changes and anything else that maybe needed to be rectified at the time. So I did go back and I looked at a couple versions of other terms of references, and I just sort of amalgamated these together. So this is, honestly kind of a draft document, but I'm looking for your input or thoughts into it, so I can make those changes. I would also like it to bring this in front of the Recreation Committee themselves at some point, but I kind of thought the best process would be to come here first and then to them and then on to council if that was possible. So I'm just looking for some general input here.
Okay, any questions in regards to this? Yes, Councillor Jennings.
Under the financial, it says that all monies dispensed are done so appropriately as outlined in the procurement bylaw and with the approval of council where required. So I guess my question is, where does council require it, other than if it is funds that would exceed the operating and capital budget that got approved by council? Because I guess that's the thing is, once council has approved their budget, it's like a department where they know how much money they have to spend. And I know that the Recreation Committee put forward a request for funds and the council approved it. They had set ideas to use that fund. So if they're looking to use that money, they shouldn't have to come back to council every time asking permission to buy. They do have to follow the procurement, like it says, where you get your 2 verbal or your 3 written or whatever the case may be based on the dollars being spent. But I don't think they actually have to come back to council to say, can we go ahead and buy things? Would be my interpretation. And that's where I'm looking for clarification.
Yeah, I think I apologize. I was hoping to have got to that before this meeting and I haven't, but I think it's something that I will discuss with the treasurer and go through this a little bit more closely myself. I think the intention was just, basically we're to follow the procurement policy. So whatever is in there is what we'll follow. I know for smaller amounts, it's to be approved by the department head. The Recreation Committee does not have a department head, so it automatically is the clerk administrator, is my understanding. But I would just suggest that it's easier to have it in the minutes just to go to council for approval. I don't know that anyone is necessarily going to question it or hold it up. It's just an easier process. But I can delve into this a lot deeper. I just haven't had the opportunity, and I apologize for that.
Follow up?
Yes, Karen.
So just, that's the clarification is, if council has approved the budget and we know the activities that they're looking to do, I don't know why they have to keep bringing it back to council. If it's over something different or whatever the case may be, I get that. Because I mean, if a department has in their budget to go ahead and order whatever the item is, they don't have to go back to the department head to get permission to order it. Like the department head's the one that usually orders. Council's now made the decision that yes, you can go ahead and buy, I don't know, two new chairs for whoever. So you don't have to come back to council or to yourself to say, can I go ahead and buy those chairs now because the budget was approved? Is that not correct? I mean, once the budgets are approved, that's the authorization to spend the money allocated for the specific funds. But I don't think you have to keep going back to get authorization.
Well, the department head is usually the one that would approve the 2 chairs or the desk or whatever it is. So like I said, in this case, the recreation committee does not have a department head. So I believe, act as the department head. So the approval would have to come through myself is how I understand it. Does it have to go to council? Probably, I mean, I'd have to take a better look, but I would certainly have to come through myself is how I understand it. But
Sorry.
whether it goes over budget or not, everything still has to go through a department head.
You want to follow up, Karen?
Well, so I get that you would authorize the expense, but I guess it's just to go ahead and place the order. If the rec committee says, we're going to have these functions, and so we need this much money, and then they go to have the function, they have to get your approval every time they go to do their spending on that function?
That is my understanding, yes.
How else would you see it running then, Karen?
Again,
They've
once
just-
council has approved the budget, so the rec committee was allocated $5,000 for all the activities that they reported to us to put that money in there. Now that they're going to access that money, as long as it's within the parameters of the reasons they gave us to spend that money, why are we questioning them to say, okay, so, now you're going to spend it on this or spend it on that? I guess we did allocate the money so that they could do some fundraising activities, etc. I'm just not sure why it has to keep coming back. If it's not for what was budgeted, okay, but as long as we budgeted because they gave us the report saying we'd like funds to be able to do these things, we've got to give them the ability to do something if they want to get active in the community, and to have to keep coming back. I mean, as I said, if it's not part of the initial budget, I get it, but the operating, once it's approved, I don't know why we keep going back.
Councillor Carroll.
I was just gonna ask, would the chair of the recreation committee then be the head? Or that, them signing off on it, you couldn't play it into that, as far as, because it's really just a rubber stamping formality at the end of the day, right? I mean, that's really the, the Karen's, is that just a formality at the end of the day? You're not gonna ever deny them. I mean, it would be, it's when it gets to that point, right? I mean, is it really just a rubber stamping at that point? Is it delay the process?
I don't see it delaying the process. I see that they would say, we'd like to do, ABC, here's the money it's going to cost. For example, I'm just reading about here, informal quotation. Informal quotation is for anything greater than 2,000, but not more than 30,000. We need 3 written or verbal quotes. So they would have to provide those to me. And then essentially, they need to be approved or authorized at the direction of the appropriate department head, and shall be the best financial interest of the township. But a direct purchase, which is equal to or less than 2,000, it still has to go through the department head. That's what it says under 3.1.
Well,
So as far as I can tell,
wouldn't we see it more just as a check and balance?
it's not. I don't think it's intended to stop anything or slow anything down. It's just to be sure that we've gone through the process. I don't think anyone's going to say, no, you can't do that. It's
No, it
just
wouldn't be in our interest.
got the quotations or got the things that are required. And then they're approved, but I can certainly dig into it some more.
Okay, Karen?
The clarification is the committee themselves make the recommendation to purchase whatever. The procurement policy says they have to get 2 verbal quotes because it's under $2,000. They get that, they call you, the chair calls you and says, I've got my 2 verbal quotes, here they are. So we want to place the order for this. All they have to do then is get your verbal to go ahead, and then they can go ahead and do it.
That's my understanding. Yes. I think I would suggest I would probably, to cover them too, I would put it in an email. I understand this is what you're looking for. I'm okay. You know, send it off so that it's in writing, but.
Okay, Councillor Carroll.
And that's what I was gonna just chime in, is that the way that I'm understanding and I'm getting that is like, so when we come, or the recreation committee comes and says like, this is what, we want to do. I mean, Joanna has the ability to say, oh, wait, you made a mistake. Because in 2 years from now, that someone might forget about this. And it's like, we have a $2,100 thing. And she's like, oh, you need, if we don't, we have to make sure we follow this. So it's making sure that we just follow the rules. So it's the whole, crossing the T's and dotting the I's thing. So we don't get, raked out, like, so the recreation committee doesn't get raked out in the coals because they made a mistake. And Joanna's there is really like the check and balance is what Claus said, just to make sure that nobody gets themselves in hot water. So I mean, I think that's good to have that person there. Like, it's not an approval, or it is kind of approval. It's more like to make sure that everybody does the right thing and nobody's going to get raked over the coals for a mistake. So I think it makes sense in that sense for sure.
Okay.
Karen, I'm happy to go back and take a closer read. For sure, if that's what if we want more clarity on that. And that's exactly why I brought this whole document in front of everybody, just so we can hash this stuff out and get a little better understanding ourselves. So,
Okay, Councillor Stray.
I guess, I kind of agree with what everybody's saying here in regards to the dollars and cents stuff and et cetera, et cetera. I guess my point goes back to the terms of reference and only going down to one council member. So council, those members that were on there were appointed by council, and now we're going to go back and remove one of those people. And I don't, I'm struggling with that a little bit.
okay, I think it's that was just what I've seen in other terms of reference. Certainly, I think it's okay to have two, just given that there's a five-member council. We don't want to see 3 members of council in place. I'm suggesting 1, just because that's what I've seen. That's what I've seen in other areas. But again, I mean, 2 would also be acceptable. I just think we want to be careful when we get into 3 members, even if 1 is sort of an ex officio. I think we need to start just being cautious at that point.
So follow up.
Yes, go ahead.
So anytime that we have a committee, if there's an ex officio on there, then we can't have 2 appointed council members.
I'm sorry?
There's always a possibility then for someone to call it a council meeting.
I think the concern is there. It's not necessarily the case, but I think the concern when you have 3 sitting members of council, regardless of what you call them, I think it's a concern that it could be perceived as a meeting of council for sure.
Yes, Reeve Dobson, go ahead.
It's never like in my experience, it's never perceived to be a one towards a meeting. Like I know at the county, the warden sits as ex officio on every committee. That person never gets a vote and never advances. So I don't see it as an issue here, but
I'm not specifically saying ex officio or elected member or whatever. I'm just suggesting that there be 2 members of council, regardless. And again, I mean, it's up to yourselves. This is the terms of reference, but it's just something that as a clerk, I feel I should probably put out there.
Karen?
Question with reference to the county and how they have the ex officio on their committees, but how many members sit around the committee to still meet the quorum of all of the county council? Because that's the whole kicker, right? Is that whether you have ex officio or not, when you have ex officio and 2 council members, that does make 3. And a member of the public did make a comment during one of them about 3 council members being at the rec committee. Because he questioned the three going, now that the three of you are here, he had a question. And that's the thing. It's like when you put 3 out of 5, that does become quorum. But at the county, if the warden sits as ex officio, how does that still give them quorum, or is it still under quorum?
It's under quorum.
Under quorum.
We're seeing
Well,
it become
under.
over.
Yeah. Well, I think the ex officio person going there basically is just going there for information and just to keep themselves up to date.
And I
Sure.
agree, and there's not a voting power, and I think, I'm not
No.
saying that there is a conflict, but there's probably the perception of a conflict. Or there's certainly a perception of quorum, whether anyone votes or not. I'm not saying like, Bill has to go. I'm just saying, I think overall, 1 or 2 would be a better number. And I think, the main concern that I've had is like Karen has said, is there's been a couple of times where members of the committee have addressed council as council, like the 3 people as council.
Yes, Karen.
In all honesty, do we need 3 council members sitting on a rec committee to bring back the information to council? Because that's the reason that you put a council rep on a committee, is so that they bring the information back.
And no, I would say we don't need 3 people sitting there. But I guess it's the rec committee's perception that if we have 3 there, 3 taking control. Is that what the concern is?
Somewhat, but
Because it's been commented back to me that, why do we have 3 members of council sitting in the rec committee meetings?
Well, for one thing, what we should do is in the minutes, when you say who's present and absent and so on, if I was sitting there ex officio, I should be put down, my name should be there separately as ex officio, because you just add you add my name in with everybody that's present. Well, and I can tell you one thing, I'm only there to help, and I'm only there, like it's been said before by Jeff, I'm there to help. I'm there to ask any questions, and I'm willing to do anything for the Recreation Committee. I'm not there to vote. I'm not there to advance any of my own agendas or anything. So I'm there to help, and if somebody doesn't want me there, then that's fine. But I'm there in good faith. So.
But I do think it comes down to personal perception. I mean, some people have no problem with it, some people would have, but it's a perception more than anything.
Well,
Yes,
we've got 4,000 people. We got almost 4,000 people in the township, and I guess if 1 or 2 people have a perception that I'm there for the wrong reason or whatever, or we've got 2 instead of 1 or whatever. I mean, we got to deal with
Well, I don't think, Reeve,
right here.
it's a situation of the individuals. I think it's the problem they are having is the numbers. That seems to be the numbers more than anything. Okay.
so
Karen and then Joanna.
So we don't allow discussion of 3 members of council at any of the rec meetings. So somebody can't ask a question of council, right? That way you can get around it. You don't have the council members sitting at the table voting. It's just the recreation volunteers that vote on the motions, etc. That could get
Right.
around it, would it not?
Right.
That's the way it is. That's the way it is.
That's what I understand it's supposed to be. Joanna?
Yeah, I just wanted to be really, really clear here. I don't think this is certainly not meant to be a direct attack on any particular member of council at all. It's about, and it's not that anyone has an interest or trying to change anything or trying to do anything. It's about a perceived perception. So this opportunity was taken to bring this to light. It has, if I'm honest, been mentioned to me by several people. and I understand that from a couple other people, it's been mentioned to them. So, I mean, I think there's a few people that have been concerned about it. You know, whatever's in the term of reference is in the terms of reference, and you're fine as is. The question is, do you need 3 people on the recreation committee? Is there a way around it? You know, like, you know, Karen said, people, you know, we need to stop addressing everybody as members of council. That's certainly a start. Like Bill suggested, you know, changing things on the minutes, but none of that, I don't think any of that takes away the perception. So it's just in the position that I'm in, it's more of a just be aware of it. I'm just trying to sort of help everyone out. I'm not directing it to any one member of council. It's just so that everyone is aware. So that's in there. Ultimately, it's your call. You know, I'm just providing information.
Okay, yes, Reeve Dobson.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear again. I don't feel that there's a need for me to be there. I don't need to be there. And I don't think that the Recreation Committee needs me to be there. I'm just saying, I want to be there if I can help. Several times I'm in the background and nobody knows what an answer is. It's got something to do with some history that's going on, and I'm able to answer a question. So I don't need to be there. I got lots of things to do, but I enjoy it. I think that the Recreation Committee is going in a great direction, and they're, you know, we're just getting started, and obviously COVID has interrupted it. But as I said, I just want to be clear. Nobody's saying that I need to be there. That's for sure.
Okay, Councillor Carroll, then we need to move on, folks.
Yeah, we gotta move on, but I mean, I think it's, just on Reeve Dobson's point, but, you know, I do want to reiterate the benefit of having, you know, Reeve Dobson's opinions, especially with the history that he has. So, I mean, I thoroughly enjoy the discussions we have at those rec meetings as we try to figure something out during this COVID time and what we're going to come out of it when COVID's done. And I think that's, you know, I just want to reiterate that exact point of the, you know, trying to do what's best for the township, and that's definitely what Reeve Dobson does. But we're going to have to, I mean, but there is that perception out there, unfortunately. And we live in a world where we can have all the best intentions in the world, but things can be skewed very easily. So I think we do have to be very, very cautious. And so I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is for this, but we do have to be cautious because of that perception for sure. So.
Okay, so yes, Councillor Straight, and we'll move on, please.
I think that Karen had a couple of valid points there in regards to voting and everything else like that, and that can definitely sway away any of that perception of what it is that's going on possibly. So if the 3 people are there, the council members, and if Reeve Dobson's there as ex officio or whatever, we don't vote or pass motions or anything else like that. Let the committee do it. There should be enough people on the committee to do it anyway. Then that should take away any of that perception, hopefully, of you know, of some level of control or a council meeting being held.
Well, on Councillor Straight's point of view, which I agree with, I think we're going to see more people on the rec committee fairly soon anyway. So they should be able to run their own show quite nicely without. And I know the council members that are on it and Reeve Dobson are not there to sway one way or the other. They're there to help. Yes, Joanne.
Okay, sorry, I'm going to be the heavy. And again, you know, this isn't directed at anyone in particular, but if there are 3 members of council, it is considered a quorum, from my understanding. So regardless, I think we have an issue. Regardless, but I don't know that we're going to solve that tonight. Is there any other comments on the terms of reference other than the quorum issue?
Seeing none, so to enter then with this motion, we don't seem to be able to get to a consensus in the number of people on this representation. Can we, do we have to move this forward, or can we defer it?
I mean, I can try to get some additional information about quorums. Maybe that education session would be the place to ask and bring it forward after that.
Is there an urgency on this then?
I don't think there's an urgency, aside from just that, there have been a few people that have commented, but, I don't think it's urgent. It just should be recognized.
Okay. Reeve?
Yeah, just to be clear also, I certainly do not want to be, I don't want Jeff or Ian. Right now, Jeff and Ian are the two people that were appointed to this committee. And I would not want to be the person that has to bump one of them off. And if that's going to be the case, then I won't go. But in fact, I thought maybe Karen, were you not at one meeting?
I was there to represent Ian or Jeff. I'm only the backup.
Yeah. Okay. So, which is fine. My opinion always was that any one of the other 5 can in fact sit there as a resident of Montague Township.
That's right.
I don't go there sitting there I'm ex officio, I guess, but I don't have to be there as ex officio. I thought that I could be there, or Karen, you or Claus could be there as a resident of Montague Township. It's the same as the Police Services Board. They're open to the public, but any of us can go and sit there. They're public meetings.
Okay, well, I'll do a little
I
bit.
just want to be clear. I would not want to be Jeff or Ian to be put off this committee just to have me sitting there. That would not
I don't think
go over with me at all.
I think the 2 representatives have done a lot of work on the Recreation Committee. I think it would be an injustice for us to remove one of them. I think the Rec Committee, with the additional members and so forth, they're going to have to realize we're there to help them, not there to try and sway power one way or the other. Yes, Joanna?
So I think maybe I'll just go back and do a little bit more additional research, and then bring it back just so we have some solid confirmation one way or the other.
Okay, so we'll put this on deferred then. Okay, folks? Okay. There are no other reports of committee, no petitions, no notice of motions, unfinished business or other business. Seeing none. Questions from the public? I didn't forget this time, Karen.
I have one. Christy, do you have any?
I have no questions from the public.
Okay. So I have one. In the revised terms of reference for the Rec Committee, it states that all monies dispensed are done so appropriately as outlined in the procurement bylaw and with the approval of council where required. Can you further explain what required means? So I think that's sort of the similar question to what Karen was asking. So I believe we sort of talked about that, but I can again go back and sort of take a closer look on those things as well.
Okay. Nothing here, folks. Okay, so I need a move. I don't have a person to move the committee of the whole now to adjourn. Jeffrey Carroll.
I'll second it.
And second by
Mr. Chair.
Dobson. All those in favor? We now adjourn at 9:15. Okay, give me a minute to reorganize my paperwork here and we'll get into our reconvene our council meeting. I had it here. Okay. So I think we'll just keep on going, folks. We're doing good for time wise. Okay, moved by Councillor Karen Jennings, second by Councillor Jeffrey Carroll, that council reconvene at 9:16 PM. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried. Okay. Just a second. Okay, so moved by Councillor Karen Jennings, second by Councillor Jeff Carroll, that council move into closed session as per S 239 of the Municipal Act SO 2001 C25 in order to address 3 items: personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, a position plan, procurement criteria or instructions to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by on behalf of the municipality, the local board, a proposed pending acquisition and disposition of land by municipality or local board, more specifically personal matters about identified individual, interior municipal agreements, proposals, disposal of land. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
We're good to go off YouTube now?